We have another emergency order, this time coming out of Tucson, Arizona. May not be as serious as what's happening in Ohio, but people are freaking out about it nonetheless. A hazardous material leak on I-10, and they've issued a shelter-in-place order. We're also learning more about what's going on with the Ohio toxic chemical spill. We got a viral video of a woman walking into her yard showing all of her chickens are dead. This is a typical suburban-looking yard. This is not... There's no visible signs of chemical leak or anything like that. They just walk into the yard, dead chickens. And so we're wondering about what the government's telling us, that the water and that the air is safe. And there are many who think, and I would have to agree, probably not the case. We'll talk about that. Plus, Elon Musk is shutting off Starlink. He's saying that Ukraine may start World War III. And some in Europe have come out and already said, you know what, it looks like that we're already there. This may be the case. Yeah. Maybe it's all hyperbolic. Still don't know for sure. Maybe it will erupt into something bigger. But we got some stuff going on at home. And because we here at Timcast are downwind from that toxic chemical spill, we're kind of worried about it as well. Plus, West Virginia is going to be heavily impacted by this. Potentially, the water base could be seriously affected by it. And let me just say, we're hearing some crazy things. So I can't say too much, but I'll leave it at that, and we'll get into it. Before we get started, head over to timcast.com. To become a member, click that Join Us button and then sign up, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments from this show. We'll have a members-only show coming up for you tonight at 11 p.m., so you don't want to miss it. Plus, you're supporting our cultural endeavors. We're doing an event on April 14th in Austin, Texas. The event is sold out, and it looks like for this event, we're probably going to break even if lucky. It's because you guys are members, we're able to do shows like this. The idea is to bring people together so they can meet each other, share ideas. Plus, we're launching this coffee shop and a coffee company because we want to create physical spaces where people can hang out. So don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. Joining us tonight to talk about what's going on with this chemical leak and more is West Virginia Delegate Chiarelli.
Thanks for having me, Tim.
Who are you? What do you do?
Well, my name is Gino Chiarelli. I'm the delegate from West Virginia's 78th House District, which is southeast portion of Mon County, right outside of Morgantown. And like you were saying with the water stuff, a lot of these maps that I'm seeing, all these areas affected, all of them have my county in it. So naturally, I have to be concerned, and I have to be concerned for about 18,000 people. So wow. It's really not easy to get questions from people about water safety when I don't have very many answers. I spoke with a couple people from West Virginia American Water today who they said that, officially that the water is fine. It's being monitored. It's being tested. They have a secondary source of water that's ready to go should anything happen. But that's all that I have. I have no further details. I'm almost in as much dark as the people that live in the district and the affected areas.
Well, we'll definitely talk about that. Plus, I'm really interested to hear about the shape of West Virginia. Obviously, we're setting up shop here. We've been setting up shop here. But a lot of people need to understand what's going on with even a state like West Virginia, which is MAGA country, has its elements of wokeness. So thanks for hanging out. This should be fun. We also got Phil Labonte hanging out.
Hello, everybody. I am Phil Labonte, lead vocalist for All That Remains. And I am here to get into the conversation. Let's do it.
Hi, I'm Hannah Claire Brimlow. I'm a writer for Timcast.com, and I keep knocking over this UFO. I have to stop now. Serge?
That's what she does. She knocks over the UFO.
Oh my gosh, this is terrifying.
That shocked me. Hey guys, I am at Serge.com. I'm ready to go if you guys are.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's jump into this first story, man. This is crazy stuff. We got this from Timcast.com. Breaking. Shelter in place issued in Tucson, Arizona following hazardous material leak on I-10. Civilians within a 1-mile radius have been ordered to evacuate. The stretch of road has reportedly been closed in both directions at milepost 272. Civilians within a 1-mile radius have been ordered to evacuate. The Arizona Department of Transportation has not issued an estimated time for I-10's reopening as of this report's publication. We have this video from Roz Alerts. Is that how you say it? Let's see if we can play this. Take a look at this. Let me get the audio going for you guys. There we go. So I don't know what that yellow stuff spraying out of there is, but I certainly wouldn't want to be anywhere near it. So there it is. I mean, simply put, they say Tucson's National Weather Service cautioned drivers of dense blowing dust prior to the trucks overturning. Motorists traveling along I-10 should be prepared for rapidly reduced visibility below a mile to blowing dust. Images and video from the incident show what appears to be yellow and red smoke emitting from the overturned truck, which was reportedly carrying nitric acid, according to Pima County's Office of Emergency Management and Tucson Fire. This seems like it may just be an accident. And accidents happen. So my question for you guys, I'm wondering, Is it because of what's happening in Ohio, we are now laser focused on things like this that we probably shouldn't be that worried about? Or, I mean, or is there another reason we typically, I'll put it this way. We usually don't hear big news about 1 mile evacuation orders and shelter in place orders. I mean, I feel like that'd be big news no matter what, whenever it would happen. But maybe we just don't care, so it never makes Twitter, it never makes the news.
I think you're probably right that it's people kind of focusing on this stuff because of the situation in Ohio. I think that Ohio is dramatic. It's clearly something that the EPA and transportation TSA or not the
Buttigieg.
Yeah,
National
Buttigieg.
Transportation Safety Board.
Department of Buttigieg.
And TSB or whatever, they should be paying attention to that. I think that this situation in Tucson is likely just an accident, unfortunately.
But we don't hear stories like this. I mean, I kind of feel like if there was it's a 1 mile radius evacuation, I feel like if that were to happen at any other time, we'd be talking about it.
I think the only reason that
Really?
I do that
Yeah.
I think so personally.
I feel like it's hard to go down the rabbit hole. Not hard to not go down the rabbit hole. It's, do we believe in coincidences? Maybe things like this happen all the time, but it seems a little suspiciously close to it. I mean, you can't help but wonder. And then it also seems concerning because we mentioned Mayor Pete, who had that big press conference, but failed to mention what I've seen people talking about as the worst man-made disaster to ever happen on American soil.
Is what's happening now in Ohio.
In Ohio, yeah.
And we're like 2 hours away from there.
We are not very far from that at all.
That's
we are
creepy.
definitely in that radius.
Tucker Carlson suggested we're under attack.
Well, when's the
Tonight?
last time Tucker Carlson
Last
didn't
night.
say we were under attack?
I mean, but you look at what's so for one thing, I think it's fair to say it's a fact that the power grid's being attacked. We've
Well,
got
yeah.
numerous reports of extremists, I guess, whether you believe it or not, but numerous reports of some kind of extremists shooting at power substations and knocking electricity out. So like that's happening.
Yep.
But then you've got, I mean, I don't know how you look. You've got the toxic chemical spill. You've got the balloons in our air, the objects floating in our airspace, interfering with civilian commercial airlines. And yeah, I don't know. I can't help but feel like our infrastructure is being attacked. You've got food shortages in certain areas, eggs specifically. But then you look at the culling of chickens, and this is the messaging we got when we talked about it. People were like, "You keep blaming Joe Biden for the cost of eggs, but you're not telling people about the avian flu that's sweeping through the chicken populations." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, like in New Zealand and South Africa where they're culling chickens too. Why are they culling chickens? Different reasons. For some reason, everybody's culling chickens in different countries. Maybe just a big coincidence." Or I don't know, maybe there's something else going on.
Mike DeWine, the governor of Ohio, did this press conference today where he said that the train that was passing through, the state authorities weren't notified of what it was carrying because it wasn't considered a high hazardous material train. And that means like that there weren't enough chemicals on it for it to be considered dangerous from the explanation the governor gave. And that makes me think that this must happen more often than we realize. And this one just kind of blew up on social media. I mean, if you saw the videos of the trains on fire, there was no way you could look away. And then on top of that, they followed up with a controlled burn that looked like essentially Chernobyl. I mean, that's what the people are calling
Mushroom
this.
Club.
Right.
Have you guys ever seen Aaron Brockovich?
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, this stuff happens, What was it? What was that story? Like they were polluting the groundwater and then people were drinking chromium or
Right.
something?
Yeah.
Hexavalent chromium or something like that?
Yeah,
It was
something
killing
like
them all?
that.
Yeah.
So is it that we're noticing that it happened in Ohio and then it happened in South Carolina and then it happened in Houston and now it's
It
happening
didn't happen in
Arizona?
South Carolina, and I don't believe it happened in Houston, but I don't know. You were reading something earlier. So what happens is you get a train that derails in Ohio and a mushroom cloud and a controlled burn. Animals are dying. And then the next time a train derails, everyone's like, it's happening again. But it's like, yo, trains derail like all the time.
Yeah,
Like 112 or 150 per month.
Yeah,
Right.
it's over 1,000 per
with
year.
with the number of train derailments that apparently happen all the time. This one, or at least the one in Ohio, seems a little bit aggressive because, again, the mushroom cloud you could see from space. So something there seems a little bit different. Plus, we were looking at the report earlier that said there may have been more poisonous chemicals in that than we originally thought.
Somebody's lying.
Somebody is lying. And I don't know who it is, but somebody is lying.
And Pete Buttigieg today said we've done, the majority of testings, and I think it's like 200 and however many of 400 homes, and there's been no detection. There's been no detection of what chemicals? Like, what are you telling us? He's saying that everything's okay 10 days after the fact, right? Shouldn't he have been there by now? Shouldn't we have heard more about this?
I don't believe a word he says,
No,
and
how
I don't
can
think that he
you?
has any. It doesn't matter what he says because I don't. Even if even if I believed what he says, I think that, like, even if he's telling the truth or he believes he's telling the truth, I don't think that they have accurate information. I don't think that they have that's really, I guess, what it boils down to. I don't think that they have accurate information to give to people. I think that they're spitballing and guessing.
Err on the side of caution.
Yeah.
I remember I was in downtown Chicago a couple decades ago riding my bike, and then I saw smoke coming out of like the 10th floor of a building, and I see people walking up to the building, and they're like going like this, and they're looking at it. And you know what I did? I went the other way. I'm like, yo, if there's some kind of leak or who knows what's going on, why are you walking towards it? Well, I want to see you or something like that. What is it called? Rubbernecking.
Yeah.
When you're on the highway.
Sticking your neck out and trying to go look at something. And man, it's kind of crazy because I've just always known that lesson. I guess my dad taught me that. He was a firefighter. It's like you see smoke, you get away from it.
Yeah.
But regular people, they go towards it.
And you think that, like, that was, like, it was really dramatic, the burn in Ohio. It's not like, everyone here agrees that it looked something like a mushroom cloud or like an actual volcano erupting. Like, go the other way. And anyone
Leave.
anyone that can get out of there, it's probably a good idea to leave. I can't imagine that.
But
But what if you can't go anywhere?
Well, that's a different story. I mean,
So here's the question. Here's the question I got. You can't ignore it, right? I mean, what's going on in Arizona? People are posting videos of it. Maybe this stuff happens way more than people realize. It is really, really bad, but nobody knows or cares, right? So it's kind of like there's that experiment they did where they took a guy and they put him in a room and they said, we're going to have you be part of a study. Just fill out this paperwork. While he's filling out the paperwork, they blow smoke under the door. The dude then gets up and goes to the door and feels, see if it's hot, and then yells, "Hey, there's smoke in here." And then he goes and opens and calls some people in. They then do another trial. Same thing. They tell some people, "You're going to be in an experiment. Come in this room and fill out this paperwork." They put 3 people in the room, have them all sit down and start filling out paperwork, blow smoke under the door. And you know what the people do then? See the smoke, look at everybody else, look at the smoke, look at everybody else, go back to filling out their paperwork.
That bystander effect is really
Yep.
strong.
Hey, if nobody's out, I'm not going to. And then there was another really funny experiment. I can't remember what show this was. They have people go into like a doctor's office, and then they're sitting down, and then one by one, people come in and sit down, and then a bell rings. And every time it does, all of the actors stand up, and then the bell rings and they sit down. And the person who's like not in on it is confused. It's like, what's going on? Then eventually joins in and starts doing the same, standing up and sitting down. It's like, why would you do that? It's the craziest thing. People do not think independently, and that's dangerous. So here's what I'm saying with this Arizona stuff. I bet this stuff happens all the time, and they never have to report on it because nobody cares. But now, because of Ohio, somebody sees an orange gas coming out, and they post it on Twitter.
Yep.
Everybody posts it. Then they're forced to say, okay, evacuate, when you should have evacuated in the first place, but they didn't want to say anything because it would freak people out and make them look bad.
Yeah.
I mean, do we think that there's maybe a hyperfixation on these events that happen afterwards because they want to lessen the attention that's happening on Ohio? Well, it happens
It increases
in Ohio.
the attention. Like this,
Yeah,
like here we are, second night, starting a show off talking about toxic chemical spills because of this. And people are scared now that the derailment in South Carolina and Houston were toxic chemical spills, but as far as I can tell, they weren't. I think there was like something with Houston where they're like concerned about a potential leak, but there's no real, there's no like smoke going anywhere or anything like that. Whereas with Ohio, there's a gigantic black cloud filling the sky and animals are dying and stuff like that. So I'm just saying, the government probably wouldn't warn you if they don't have to warn you. That means, for all you know, you could go outside and be walking into a cloud of radioactive garbage, and they're like, just don't say anything, otherwise we'll look bad. You can trust the government to do that, I guess.
You can absolutely trust the government to try and hide things.
And then
Absolutely.
A number of train derailments or train collisions happen in extremely rural areas, right? Where it's easy to say it didn't happen. I mean, one of the big things with all of this is social media, right? People filmed these things happening. They definitely filmed the fire. They definitely filmed the explosion. It makes people more aware of keeping an eye out for this. But if you're in the middle of a cornfield and your train topples over, even if it doesn't have chemicals on it, really it's up to the companies involved, Amtrak, in this case, Norfolk Southern, to say something. And why would they if they don't need to?
We got a super chat from CA2CA Outdoors that says, Tim, per the NFPA, there were 433,500 hazardous material incidents last year. I think it's laser focus on an incident. It's on a huge scale. Yeah, but here's the thing about hazardous material incidents. that could mean like someone in an airport spilled a bottle of acetone. And then it's like, we got an acetone spill. Like, all right, we got to get this cleaned up. Fill out the paperwork, and there's like a puddle on the ground, but you can't drive through it. You can't put equipment through it, so they got to get it cleaned somehow. Things like that, where it's like nobody's going to die because someone spilled a gallon of acetone. It's going to suck.
If someone vomits on a plane, they consider that a hazmat.
Right.
Because it's,
biohazard.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Are all these events going into the same file folder at the office?
Yeah.
Mushroom cloud that you could see from space. Somebody threw up on an airplane.
And somebody mentioned, too, in the chat that nitric acid will basically put you out if you breathe it in. So don't get anywhere near that stuff. And there are people driving through this cloud. Let's jump to this next story from ABC News, because now we're going to start getting freaky. There were more toxic chemicals on the train that derailed in Ohio than originally reported, data shows. This is from last night. So it may be, it may be things that have already been reported that people finally figured out. Ethyl hexyl acrylate, a carcinogen, etc. I think we know about this. But now we got this from the Daily Mail. Don't tell me it's safe. Residents of East Palestine express fears about returning after it's revealed there were more toxic chemicals on derailed Ohio train than originally reported, and thousands of livestock left dead. Thousands of livestock. Let me see if I have this this video here. Let me see. Where's that video at? There we go. Check this one out. I'm going to play this clip for you guys. And
the cage,
let's talk
and
about it.
This is what I found.
Amanda Brashears was going to feed her 5 hens and rooster this morning when she discovered them all lifeless, practically in the same position, with no signs of a predator entering their enclosure.
I'm beyond upset and quite panicked because they may be just chickens, but they're family.
Brashears
That's right.
says
their family. This one, they crossed the line. They killed chickens.
Damn them.
Well, they weren't eating them. I mean, that's okay. But, here's what I think. I think this whole town is blanketed in a toxic stew they can't see. And the chickens are literally the canary in the coal mine. And this lady in the video, she goes, if it can kill chickens now, imagine what'll happen to us in 20 years. And I'm just like, 20 years? Lady, they're dead now. What's going to happen to you in a week? Here's what I think. They're chickens. They're low to the ground. The chemicals are raining down on everything and everyone. The chickens are outside. So the chemicals blanket everything. The chickens like to flap their little wings and dust up the air, breathe it in, and peck the ground, eating, ingesting it, and dying. Humans aren't eating things off the ground. But this lady's walking around outside, wafting all that garbage up into the air, probably breathing it in. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we're looking at a few months and people are in the hospital with scarred lungs or whatever kind of damage, chemical burns, who knows? Mm-hmm.
That's so the idea of that, like if there's a massive amount of casualties coming in that pop up in the next couple months. I mean, I'm not even sure how to process that.
I mean, the chickens are dead.
Yeah.
Well, and you just have to wait. You just have to wait to see if it happens. That must be the most terrifying thing about living in this area right now. It could be fine. It could definitely not be fine.
At least
they said the air was safe.
Yeah.
The chickens are
That's
dead.
not
Chickens
the ground,
are dead, but
though.
they're saying the air is safe.
The air is safe, and they're not finding any chemical residue inside people's houses. But where are you finding it? Are you testing the outsides? Are you testing the ground? Are you testing the sidewalks? Like
water?
They're giving you a statistic that's easy to avoid. I mean, some places are saying they're seeing some detection. I think it was like Cincinnati's water department, but that it wasn't that big a deal. And they're, it's hard for me not to feel like a lot of regional agencies are being asked to suppress information, or they're not able to test fast enough to get the accurate information out, kind of through no fault of their own, because they've never had to deal with anything like this.
You guys remember the algal bloom in, where was it, Superior or something?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, these cities on the Great Lake had no water because the algal bloom toxifies the water. You can't drink it. And then within a 40-mile radius of these cities, there was no water. Mm-hmm. Everything was bought up. Everybody rushed to the grocery store and bought whatever bottled water they could, and then it was all gone. So people were forced to evacuate because there's no water to drink. The water was toxic.
Yep. Yeah. And the water, not just. I mean, people go through 4 gallons a day, something like that, as an average person.
The person, I think they're saying in emergency situations, they're advising, what is it, like a gallon for 3 days?
That's to drink.
Emergency situation.
Yeah,
like
for an
rationing.
emergency. Yeah, if you're rationing.
But I think it's like a gallon a day.
I think people go through a lot more water than
Yeah.
that. Like when it comes to like if you're bathing and stuff like that, it's like
Oh, dude,
so-
bathing's no question. I mean, the average person's probably using like
It's like 4 gallons a minute in the shower, right?
yeah,
Like
some
it's-
ridiculous
Is it
amount.
really that much?
I mean, I don't know for sure, but it's multiple gallons per minute. I'm pretty
Bro,
sure.
think about this. How many gallons of water can your bathtub hold, and how long did it take to fill up your bathtub?
Yeah, I mean usually they're like I think they're like 15 gallons or something like that.
No way,
No?
dude. They're
Way
way
than
more,
that?
50 to 100 maybe.
Gallons in a bathtub? No
Yeah.
way. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, have you ever, look up a 50-gallon drum? You ever see a 50-gallon drum?
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I mean, try taking a bath in one of those things. Good luck. I mean, bathtub might even be more than that. It just depends on your bathtub, I suppose. But yeah, they tell you like when a storm's coming to fill up your bathtub with water in the event that something bad, like the pipes get busted up or something happens, you can't get access to water.
Oh yeah, there's 72 gallons a typical bathtub holds. All right.
I see. There you go.
Look at
Yeah,
that.
right in the middle, 50 to 100.
The water is definitely the most dangerous game because this lady's talking about 20 years or whatever. It doesn't matter because, like you said, she's coming home to dead chickens now. They're right there underneath all of it down. But if this stuff makes it into the water, I mean, look at West Virginia. Look at the amount of area that is affected by this. So if they might be facing some sort of health consequences in the next, 6 to 8 months, who knows where places like Charleston and Huntington and Montague County, my district, who knows what kind of problems we're going to have 2 years from now, 3 years from now?
I think it's sooner than that. Take a look at this
that's
image.
me being generous.
Stu Peters tweeted this out. He says, just to put this in perspective, the contaminated Ohio River is the largest tributary of the Mississippi River. You can see the Ohio River Basin, this whole area, man. So it's happening just up right here, this explosion. If all this stuff gets in the water, it's spreading out over everything. Look how much of West
Everything
Virginia.
west of the Appalachians.
Just yeah, man. Yeah, that's your water.
This
So,
is a big concern for us, and that's why the chief of staff came by today and said, "Do you want an update regularly from the West Virginia American Water people?" And I said, "Of course, because obviously I want to know as much information as I can get. I don't know how much they're going to be able to give me, but I talked to them once today, and of course they said that it's fine, it's being tested, we have secondary source of water ready to go, but
Do you believe him?
I want to."
Well, yeah, of course, I want to too.
And it might be-
want to.
I also want to believe that, they have my best interests. They want to help me stay and live longer, that they want to end wars and they believe war is bad. And there's a lot of things I want to believe.
Well, and it might be fine today, but as we know, water moves downward. So what about 3 days from now? What about next week?
Right, and I think that the people that I spoke to, I don't think that there's anything malicious about them. I think that they are doing the best that they can with the information that they've been given. But do I think that they have the whole picture? I mean, I wouldn't. If I had to guess, I would say no. Because as we know, the government doesn't lie, right?
What would happen if the word got out to, this is 2/3 of West Virginia. And not to mention, almost all of Ohio. But let's speaking from the perspective of West Virginia, what do you think people would do if the word got out that the water actually was contaminated and they couldn't drink it?
Oh, it's pandemonium.
Pandemonium.
It would be saying a circus doesn't even do it justice because it would be way more aggressively violent, and it would have just detrimental to no end. You couldn't even quantify it.
It's almost the whole state of Ohio, and the state
And
of Ohio,
Indiana.
is the
West Virginia,
fifth-
Tennessee, Kentucky.
Well, Ohio's the 5th most populated state in the country. People, that. There's a lot of people in Ohio. Never mind the people in Tennessee and.
This isn't that 1 mile radius that we were just talking about in Arizona. This is entire states, effectively.
Yeah.
So there's the level to people, to the degree to which people need to be prepared is understandable.
I've tweeted this, every so often that in the future we're going to look back and be shocked at the idea that we would literally flush fresh water down the toilet.
Yeah, totally.
Literally just waste it. There's going to come a time where it's going to be hard to source water. There's already issues with the Great Lakes where we've been depleting them, and then restrictions had to be put in place so that they could be replenished naturally and maintained. Then you get other states, like I think it was Arizona, that was suing, trying to take Great Lakes water, arguing that as part of the United States, we have access to all water sources.
Wow.
But the Great Lakes Coalition includes, I think, Ontario, Canada, so it's it's an international treaty. You can't interfere with it. But taking a look now at the entirety of Ohio, I can only say I absolutely hope it really isn't that bad. But hope, and a couple, $5 will get you a cup of coffee. So if it were me and I was in the direct impact area of the Ohio River Basin, I'd be filling up. I'd maybe go buy 10, 50-gallon drums and just fill them up, seal them up.
I'm not sure if my ignorance of how bad it actually is would be considered bliss or is detrimental, because it looks really terrible, but for as much as I'm actually like educated about this kind of stuff, it could be actually no big deal. I don't know. It doesn't look good though.
I hope it's
And-
no big
all
deal.
The, all the farmland.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I hope it's no big deal. I hope everyone is totally fine. I hope those chickens just got really tired and went to sleep. You know what I mean? But I think you should go get the water because
Yeah.
worst comes to worst, you use it when the power goes out some other time or
But-
you have that resource on hand. My problem is just there is no way to know, and it's hard to know that the only way we get through it is just by waiting to see what happens. We are now in a completely defensive position to this.
And nobody trusts the government.
I don't even know if defensive is the right way to describe it. Trucker and tourist in the super chat saying, "What about the food supply? There's thousands of acres of farmland."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
We're
all that farmland. I don't know, man.
That's my point, though. We only have the ability to react. We don't have any choice but to deal with the consequences, and that is how do you even prepare for something that could potentially be such a big scale? Like I said, I hope it's totally fine, but how could it be? They just burned a ton of chemicals into the atmosphere. Isn't this what environmentalists always say we should not do?
Isn't like the world basically blanketed in radioactive particulates because of all the nuclear bomb tests we did?
Mm-hmm.
There was something about that I was reading. Like it's hard for us to date certain things because we just blanketed the planet in
Yeah.
We messed up.
nuclear fallout of some sort.
Well, that too.
We
like-
messed up.
Yeah.
No, we messed it up. Sorry, I misspoke.
No, I mean we did mess up. I
No,
agree.
for sure. That's why we have to use like surgical steel coming from like World War II ships and everything. Yeah, because it doesn't have the background radiation inside of it.
So like new steel harvested or like refined today is going to be radioactive. Is that what it is?
I think so. That's why we literally go down and find those old ships because it's been kept underneath the water and thus isolated from all that particulate. That's what I understand.
Can't we like de-radioactive it or something somehow? Like we're humans, we're
idea.
pretty smart. We can figure that out, can't we?
No idea.
I have no idea.
No idea.
I don't know anything about.
Sounds like someone's ready to make $1 billion if they can figure that one out, Phil.
Yeah,
I'm
right?
looking at you.
Hey, look, I got some studying to do. Then apparently, I have
How to get the radiation out of metal.
Phil Labonte, the face of de-radioactivating
I
metal.
mean, if I could, I'd love to.
Take a look at these pictures that Stu Peters posted. This is crazy stuff right here. We got this tweet. Stu Peters says, Ohio, this is what's happening to cars if you're driving through spurts of rain 70 plus miles southeast of the East Palestine incident. Yeah, that's like relatively close to where we are. I
Yeah.
think that's like where
That's
you are.
uncomfortably close to where I am.
Uncomfortably.
Yeah.
Take a look at these pictures. So, okay. All right. Maybe this is nothing. I don't want to, it's a tweet saying this is it's just people posting on the internet. We don't know that it's true. But look at these photos. They're covered in, I don't know, man. It looks like salt almost. Like look at this, these streaks.
Yeah, it does
What's
look like
going on?
it looks like someone drove their car through like New England after.
Yeah.
after
After like the salt.
But
and
it looks like the paint even like kind of flaked off or something. Especially here, like what is this?
That's weird residue.
Yeah,
I mean,
weird residue.
There
man.
was no way to avoid that cloud was black. There was definitely residue falling back to Earth, right? It's just a question of is this residue toxic? I guess
If
Pete
it's doing that to
says
cars,
no.
I really don't want to gamble
Dude,
on whether or not I want it inside me.
It's going to be in like 10 years. You're going to be watching YouTube, and you're going to be watching, Timcast IRL, and we're going to be really old people. I'm just kidding. I'll be 47, so I won't sound like that. But then all of a sudden, an ad's going to play, and it's like, "Did you live within 200 miles
Yeah.
of East
Class
Palestine,
action lawsuit.
Ohio?"
Yep.
Yep. You may, and are you suffering from breathing problems? You may be entitled to a large cash settlement. Contact the law firm of
non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
No, I said this yesterday.
mesothelioma.
I said this yesterday, but one of the hazmat responders to the scene said everyone should go get their health evaluated right now, so they have a base point to track what happens next to their bodies, because you don't know what's going to happen. So having a basic physical right now will be able to potentially help you in a class action lawsuit. He didn't say that part, I did, but if you can't tell what's wrong with you, it'd be easy for a company to be
Yeah.
like, "Oh well, how do we know you didn't already have markers for leukemia?"
Apparently, people were saying like Aaron Brockovich was saying something. Oh yeah. Aaron Brockovich is speaking up now, asking Biden to step up as people fall sick and animals drop dead after Ohio train derailment. Could this be what knocks Biden out of the race? Maybe a failure to respond to an obvious, massive,
Disaster.
potentially the worst disaster chemical spill in this country.
Yeah.
I mean, he's already extremely unpopular. I don't see why it couldn't be a situation where people have a significant turn against the administration.
Isn't that the plot of The West Wing? They're like one of the seasons. They're like Republican is doing well in the race, and then there's a factory fire or something, and he just can never recover from it. I could be misremembering this.
I was never a West Wing fan.
Well, you're not a political nerd, Phil.
Well, I mean, there's one. I can't do episodic TV. I just don't have the patience.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. But the fact that Aaron Brockovich is making remarks,
Right. Yeah.
They made a movie about her.
Oh, yeah.
With Julia Roberts. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Look at
she did. She did win the case. I don't remember the details of the case, but
Yeah, it was like chromium in the water or something.
It was a big finding. So
How would Biden respond to this to handle it? We're 10 days out. I don't feel like he's given a strong response to it. Is there any way for us not to look at him and be like, why did we not have I've heard, maybe you can speak to this more, that the Red Cross doesn't really have a strong presence in the area, that there's not a lot of information, that people are having problems in the government, the government agencies that are deployed there are doing nothing.
I've probably heard about the same as you, but it seems like that there is no response of any kind from any level. Any
literally
agency.
nothing.
And I've even seen unsubstantiated, but journalists are being arrested that are trying to get
One,
too close.
at least.
And I always like to.
But that was
at a press conference.
Yeah, and apparently he was just being noisy. And he was like doing his
as
live
journalists
report
tend to
during,
do, as they tend to do. But I mean, I always can't help but think, what would happen if the former guy, this happened underneath him? This would be world-ending news.
Yeah.
If this happened under
Oh,
Trump.
yeah.
This would be the worst possible thing. And it doesn't matter how it happened; it would be his fault. So now that because it's Biden, does he?
You know what I heard? I heard Biden did it.
I mean, that's
I heard the same
it's
thing.
It's that easy to point the finger, right? It's clearly his fault. Thanks, Biden.
He's so obsessed with trains. It does seem like something he'd do.
Yeah, I know a guy, and his brother knows one of the people who lives just outside of the town, whose friend lived nearby. He said he saw Biden. Right there.
Good enough for me. If it's
That
good enough for them, why isn't it good enough for us?
Right, exactly.
Absolutely good enough. for
So
me.
someone close to the Biden administration office says that Joe Biden personally derailed the train.
Wow.
The person close to the office was the homeless guy in the alley, but he was physically close to the
Physically
office. So
close.
I'm telling you the truth. Right?
That's the narrative.
That's how they play those games, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, in all seriousness, I don't think. And the Biden administration came out and just said the air was safe. That's about it. And now there's dead fish washing up in streams. There's one guy who breeds foxes, says they're all sick, and the chickens are dead.
Yeah.
The chickens being dead, that crossed the line.
Corinne
Across
Jean-Pierre
the
is going to
line.
be like, no, that's just a coincidence. We said the air was safe. Everything's okay. Like, they're just going to continue to try to sidestep this, which is crazy.
What would you do? I'd leave. And we've even
have to
talked
leave.
about leaving here now. We're downwind from the incident. We're not in the direct water impacted area because we're in the panhandle. But still, people are saying like, hey, look, man, someone super chatted just now saying, looks like a storm's going to come through. And those storm patterns, they move eastward, which means we could get rained on with this stuff.
Yeah.
So what should we do? Should we lock up the chickens, keep them safe and protected, and keep them out of the rain?
So you
That
should
rain comes through,
definitely-
it could kill the chickens,
you
man.
should
No
definitely
joke.
keep the chickens keep the chickens in the coop.
This is tough because if that stuff does come through the rain and it rains here, it's going to go in the ground and there's nothing we can do. It will be in the ground everywhere. And there's no way to protect the chickens other than building a sealed, airtight, hyperbaric chamber that we pump air and food into to keep them safe. And that's just because they're little chickens. We'll still be breathing in all the garbage and getting sick.
Yeah,
I think the challenge for you, delegate, is that what I say? Is that to say delegate? Like,
Yeah, that would work.
okay, your county is much closer. You're in the water radius. I mean, what do you do? What do you do?
I've had a lot of people ask me that question, and this is my least favorite answer to give to that question is I don't know. I have to sit here and wait for the information to be drip fed to me. I'm praying to God that the information that I'm getting is accurate, or at the very least accurate. Best case, it's helpful, or it will provide a little bit of comfort. But I don't know what we can do. We're just at the mercy of this extremely unnatural event. It's possibly what I can't think of any worse man-made chemical disaster that's happened on American soil. So we just have to sit here and effectively take it. And all I have to do is, I have to trust the science, trust the experts.
This speaks to how badly trust has been damaged in the government generally. I mean, I'm a libertarian-leaning kind of dude anyways, so I don't generally trust the government. But when you've got your average people that have spent 2 years dealing with all the pandemic inconsistencies, we'll call it, between, about the treatments and what the best practices are. It's been so back and forth and so erratic and so just so inconsistent. You can't expect people to look at the government and be like, oh yeah, I feel good about the information that I'm getting, and I feel confident that you're telling me that this isn't going to be a problem, and I believe you. I don't think that there are a lot of people that feel that way anymore.
I think it's telling that Biden has not publicly addressed the situation. Obviously, Americans are concerned about it. If it really is like things are okay, then have him come out and make a statement about it. Have Kamala come out and make a statement about it. I mean,
we got a super chat from Brandon Angel. Said, my buddy lives in Wellsville, Ohio. He's 20 miles out from the incident. He was told not to drink the water anymore. He's been having headaches, chest pain, and feeling sick since it happened. I believe an imageless profile super chatting a live show on the internet more than the Biden administration on this one. When a stranger, someone I've never met, comments and says, a guy I know is sick, I believe it. Because I saw a video of dead chickens. And so when the Biden administration comes out and says whatever they want to say, you know what I would say to people? Here's my advice. We're close enough to the wind, to the air, that if a storm rolls through, this stuff could hit us as well. So the only thing I'd say is you can see the black smoke. Do you trust the media? Don't know. Do you trust the government? Probably not. So then make the decision for yourself. And that might mean you may decide to evacuate. That may mean you make less money. That may mean you struggle to find somewhere to go and wait it out safely for what, how long, a month? Or you decide to stay. And you may make the wrong decision. Me personally, we're actually looking at maybe, just rescheduling the show and maybe going down somewhere for a few weeks because we don't want to get caught up in a storm that might roll through. But then we got the chickens here anyway. Not every person can leave. So what, just the IRL crew leaves? That's tough, man. That's a tough decision. So my advice to people who live in the area is if you can get out and figure it out. If you can. That's my advice. I'm not saying you should take it. I'm just saying if I were you and I lived directly in the water basin of impacted area, yeah, I'd probably buy a bunch of water right now, fill up as much water as I can. And even now, it may be too late because this has been going on for a week and a half now? Yeah, it may be too late. It's been a week and a half of this. Yeah. That's kind of worrying.
And this is what really causes my heart to hurt so much is I think about the places that I've been in West Virginia through work or anything political or otherwise. And I've seen the hills. I've seen the hollers. I know the people that are there. They've been there for generations. They're not going anywhere anytime soon. It doesn't matter if nuclear bombs are going off, but they just have to sit there and have this happen to them. And they'll be lucky if they even get information that's semi-accurate from any agency, any level of any government. It does not matter. It's just going to sit there and happen to them. It's going to rain on them, and it's going to ruin their life, and they can't do a thing about it. We
normally save super chats at the end, but we got a bunch of them that are coming that I think are good, and definitely fact check. But Tyler B says the rain is hydrochloric acid. I don't know if that's true, but he says vinyl chloride burns, releasing hydrogen chloride, which bonds with the water vapor in the clouds. Stay out of the rain at all costs. Now, I don't know if that's true. You want to look that up? I do know that they said the vinyl chloride will burn, creating hydrogen chloride and go up in the air. That's something they reported in the press. And that makes sense. The hydrogen would bond with water vapor.
I have this from something I wrote earlier today. The EPA says that because they burn the vinyl chloride, there is no threat of the hydrochloride.
Hydrochloric acid?
Yeah, they said there's not an issue. But
somehow I just don't believe these people.
I don't believe them either.
Experts say, that's usually a tip that something is amiss.
I'm looking it up because I think this is really important right now, man. I mean, especially for me because, we're here. Acid rain. Hey, take a look at this. From USGS, the U.S. Geological Survey, acid rain. And then one of the things that was in, what are we looking for? Here we go. Hydrogen chloride, which converts to hydrochloric acid. Well, that's strange. This says... Acid deposition, commonly called acid rain, is a term applied to all forms of atmospheric deposition of acidic substances, rain, snow, fog, acidic dry particulates, aerosols, and acid-forming gases. Water in the atmosphere reacts with certain atmospheric gases to become acidic. For example, water reacts with carbon dioxide in the atmosphere to produce a solution with a pH of about 5.6. Gases that produce acids in the presence of water in the atmosphere include carbon dioxide, oxides of sulfur and nitrogen, and hydrogen chloride, which converts to hydrochloric acid. And they're saying there's no
They're
risk
saying
of it.
we burned it all off and you're good to go. Don't even worry about it.
Well, if the EPA said it, that's good enough for me.
They're
right?
burning the vinyl chloride, creating hydrogen chloride, going into the atmosphere, which the USGS.gov literally says can convert into hydrochloric acid and produce acid rain.
So was this like a local police decision to burn this? Like
No,
who made the
it's
call?
Norfolk Southern. They worked with the Ohio EPA, or they're the train operator, and they're like the
Yeah,
best
yeah.
way, our best bet to prevent this thing exploding and sending shrapnel
Was
everywhere
burning it.
was to have a controlled burn.
There's a couple people in the chat that are saying that they've got family that are sick or that they're feeling sick that are in the area.
And this is so the other part of this EPA update that I used and updated on the story today is that. Again, I'm just going to read directly. On the evening of February 13th, the U.S. EPA discontinued air monitoring for phosphogene and hydrochloride community air monitoring.
Wait. Read that one more time.
On the evening of February 13th, the U.S. EPA discontinued air monitoring for phosphogene and hydrogen chloride community air monitoring. So they're saying you're good.
Nothing
And
to see here. We stopped tracking it.
they're saying after the fire was extinguished on February 8th, the threat of vinyl chloride fire-producing phosphogene or hydrogen chloride no longer exists. So
Yeah, maybe.
They say you're good,
You know.
Tim. Don't leave. The
I
EPA
just-
says stay.
I every time we talk about this, I can hear Luke Rudkowski screaming all the way from Florida about the air on 9/11.
Yeah.
The EPA said it was safe to breathe. It's a huge scandal.
Yeah.
Jon Stewart goes on TV and before Congress all the time. They came out and said the air was safe to breathe, get to work. And now all of these first responders, their lungs are scar tissue. Cancers, they're dying. That's some of the darkest stuff ever, man.
I mean, if you can, like, it's not a bad idea I know everyone's going to have a feeling about masking, but now is the time to pull out that 3M mask, that, the big
Good
ones
thing,
with the,
right?
But how interesting is it that now you have a bunch of people who see masking as, a form of oppression by the government, which I totally think is fair. But this is actually the time when we needed it.
Yeah, this is the time where you need this isn't like where a t-shirt's going to work. You need like serious.
I already said people
know.
should get their significant others gas masks for Valentine's Day.
Yes,
All right.
that is
True.
true.
That's true.
So I just want to wrap this part of it by saying, if I was in anywhere near this, I'd be calling a relative and being like, "Can we come stay with you for a little bit?"
Yeah.
Maybe just let the rains come in, give it a couple weeks. I don't know. Maybe it's too difficult. I get it.
But
a couple-
for everybody else, get water. Like, even if you're not in the area, you should have some storage water in your house
and
you know?
food.
Yeah.
But think about this. It could be 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 where you decide to go on a vacation, go visit relatives a couple states over. But maybe if you stay and these chemicals are killing chickens, it could be a lifetime of cancer or disease. I'm not saying I know for sure. I'm not a doctor. So it's hard. I'm just distrusting of the official government statement, but maybe they're not wrong. I just would personally not believe they were right. So that's just me. But we got some other shocking news too, because as I mentioned, we had this tweet from the Recount. A moment ago, I was talking about how Tucker Carlson suggested we may be under attack. We've got unidentified flying objects being shot down. Maybe that's a distraction. We've got infrastructure being attacked. We've got train derailments. We've got chickens being culled, egg shortages, or avian flu or whatever. Seems like our infrastructure is being hit pretty hard, especially with the Chinese spy balloon flying over. I mean, the first thing China would do is subversive tactics to weaken our economy and throw us off balance before making a militaristic move, which would require a military response on our end. We got this tweet. Lock your doors tonight. Listen to this.
This has been going on for a long, long, long time. At least 2017. And last week we were told 2019. That's what I took away from it today.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Lock your doors tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, he was being asked about UFOs being shot down, and he says, we're finding out it's been going on for a lot longer than we realize. Lock your doors tonight. Now, of course, the way we can frame this is, when asked about UFOs, the senator said, lock your doors tonight, as if to imply what? What's he implying with this?
That he's implying that you should protect yourself from being probed.
Maybe, but let's think about this realistically. He's not literally saying aliens or anything like that. We're talking about unidentified flying objects and Chinese spy balloons who said lock your doors. That sounds like there's some kind of sabotage going on.
I don't know. I mean, he's a shit poster.
Kennedy
Pardon my French.
is so funny.
He's
I'm just
pretty
gonna love him.
hilarious.
He had the commercial where he was like, next time, telling like defund the police advocates, next time you get in trouble, call a crackhead.
Yeah.
Like, he is pretty severe. But with this, I mean, he's somber in the moment. I wonder
He's
if
got a
it's
smirk on after he walks away.
I wonder if it's that he thinks the general chaos of balloons, like it's not necessarily that aliens are going to touch down or whatever, but that general instability is coming. And
It
so
could be the culmination of all the chaos that's been happening
Especially
between
if you're from
balloons and
Louisiana.
explosions and disasters. Lock your doors because they're coming.
Yeah.
Do you have a plan for your constituents as to what to do when the aliens invade your district?
I feel like that's some high level stuff. I feel like most of my preparation was around how are we going to fix the roads, not how are we going to stop alien invasions.
Yeah, I don't think
I'll
it's
try.
aliens.
I will do my best for the people of Mon County, but I can't make any promises regarding extraterrestrial invasion.
The sad thing is that part of me wants it to be aliens because it's
Is
just
that bad?
It
Is that
sounds
bad
exciting.
that I was thinking that too? It
And
does
maybe
sound
that's
exciting.
the-
But then, like, the aliens
least
would
bad
just wipe
option.
us out and take over.
we
or
saw
something.
Independence Day.
Yeah, I know.
there were some losses.
I'm not so.
Some like blew up the White House.
There are some losses. I'm not so like hoping that it's aliens, but there is part of me that's like, man, I hope it's something interesting.
Yeah,
You know?
it's gonna turn out to be just like the Chinese military, and we're gonna go, that's what we thought it was.
Well, this sucks.
And then what? I mean, I suppose the sad thing is, it's gonna turn out to be something mundane, like
some Estonian teenager just launching things.
Chinese military engaging in preemptive surveillance as they prepare a military action on Taiwan, and then we're gonna be like, well, that's boring. Like it's funny.
Do you think that's what they want? For you to be like, oh, it's just not that big a deal, even though that is kind of a huge deal?
I mean, it'll mean war. It's just that's what we expect, and that's boring. Going like, oh, everybody expects there's going to be a war with China. It's Thucydides' trap. They want Taiwan. We don't want them to take Taiwan. A spy balloon flies over. Weird things are flying over the country. You got to lock your doors at night. Yeah, we get it. It's Russia or China. World War III is going to start.
Have we become that cynical where we could actually get to
Yes.
the point where
Yes.
World War III
sure.
has actually started, and
I
people
think
are
it
just
did
like,
start.
bleh.
Dude,
I
people
think
are just
we are in
wanting it to
World War
start for the memes. Think about the content. That's the
Think about
only.
the memes.
That's what these people cannot wait for war to break
Right.
out just so they can get some likes.
Right?
I mean,
There's
maybe there's something to that. Maybe the nihilism that is, and this might lead into, I don't know when you want to talk about that other story about the depression and stuff, but this might lead into or be from the nihilism that seems to be taking hold with young people.
Well, I think
know.
it's a symptom of the 24-hour news cycle, right? You've got to report on something. So we've been reporting on potential dangers in Taiwan, potential aggression for a long, long time. It doesn't seem as dramatic as all of a sudden there was a bomb dropped, right? And
Fair enough, but
for
there-
other generations that didn't have the exposure to constant news through social
Right.
media.
Fair
and-
enough, but we are actively arming Ukraine, and they're in a hot war with a nuclear armed,
But it's easy to
nuclear
start-
peer.
It's easy to start tuning it out when you hear about it nonstop. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
how many outlets out there are constantly updating you about what's going on in Ukraine? It's not that it's not serious, but you become sort of numb to it. I don't think it's nihilism so much as just overexposure.
Maybe.
Yeah. You're like dopamine drained, and you're also your adrenals are just like shot. You're like,
It
what are
all
you gonna
starts
do?
to sound the same, right?
Right,
You know
yeah.
something
It's
bad is going
mundane.
on. You know this, but nothing is so severe that it means there's an official war. It means whatever.
That's reality. You know how long the American Revolution took?
20 years you were talking about?
20 years. The revolutionary period, they called it.
Yeah.
I suppose you can argue that the official war wasn't until, a declaration or something like that. But you had conflict for years. I mean, the separation of the Boston Massacre and the Boston Tea Party was years. So, I mean, think about it. It's been 3 years since it's 2023. Imagine 3 years ago was the beginning of the pandemic. It seems like a really long time to us.
Yeah.
Now think about Donald Trump getting elected. That's 7 years.
Wow.
Well, not 7, but 6, just a little bit over 6 years. Trump getting elected for his first term. It feels like forever ago, sort of, but it also kind of feels like the blink of an eye. But when they write about this, I often talk about this. When in the future, when they write about this period, World War III, Second Civil War, pandemic, whatever you want to call it, whatever it may be, because we can't see the future, there's going to be a huge chunk of time. And for all we know, they say it all started on August 17th, 2011, when activists came to New York City to begin preparations for Occupy Wall Street. They may say that was the moment it began. But even that moment had a precursor. You had the WTO protests in Seattle, the battle in Seattle in '99. But that was a bit far away. I mean, we're talking 12 years. Maybe that preliminary meeting for Occupy Wall Street is what kicked off the culture wars, which leads to internal conflict and all of this. And it's all part of one big conflict period, fourth turning or whatever you want to call it.
I find myself picturing the history textbook I used in 6th grade where certain terms were bolded and you were supposed to learn them, and they were these key moments, because you have to be able to boil down history, into small enough portions where you can start remembering it before you can add in all of the details. And at one point, I find myself checking the news and being like, oh, so is this the bolded term that a different generation will get? They'll have to remember this date in particular. It's impossible to tell from where we stand right now. We were pretty sure they'll remember when Russia invaded Ukraine this time around, but I don't know that anyone could tell you when Russia went into Crimea the last time.
I mean, they might write that World War III started in 2014.
Yeah.
With the
Invasion of Crimea.
The Euromaidan protests.
Oh, right.
Beginning of, well, arguably end of 2013 with the Euromaidan protests, and which carried on to 2014. Or, right, the invasion of Crimea, the annexation of Crimea. But then you have to wonder what precipitated Ukraine. It may say the Syrian civil war. It may be the Arab Spring.
Yeah.
The Arab Spring period of instability, destabilization of these countries, created openings for terror organizations and conflict, which started to spread. Then you get the conflict in Syria. Then the U.S. moves in, et cetera, and this whole thing breaks out.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you think about it, nobody talks about World War I in the sense of, well, it didn't really start with the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. It's actually, the reason he was assassinated was because, no, everybody says that started it. It was the assassination. But clearly there was a reason dude got assassinated.
There's a ton of buildup.
Yeah. I think the thing is, we're in the forest, right? We can't see it. You leave the forest and you can be like, wow, that's a huge forest. Nah, we're right in the middle of it.
That's one thing when I keep talking about a cultural revolution in the U.S. and I think that's the reason why people don't realize that it's going on is because it's actively happening. And if they could take a step back, they would see the similarities between the BLM protests and the Red Guard in China in the 60s. It's
like watching a time lapse. When you actually watch the time lapse of the flower growing, and the guy pushes the seed, so they'll put a little piece of glass and the dirt up against it in the pot. You see the finger push the seed in and pour water, and then it time lapses the whole thing growing. If you did that yourself, you would not see the growth ever. You'd walk up one day and it would look a little bit bigger, but you wouldn't really think twice. The next day, you'd be like, oh, look, there's a little bit more. The next day, it's blossoming. You're like, oh, wow. But you don't see it all happen at once, so it's not a shocking moment to you.
So then how far out of the forest do we have to be before we can watch the entire time lapse and say, oh, you know what, this starts to make sense. I can see how it started.
So basically you're saying once the war is over, we will look back and be like, oh, yeah, the war's over.
I mean,
unless it goes to a real significant hot war where it's undeniably a hot war, but that's otherwise, yeah.
I think we're going to see in modern warfare, it is not going to be U-boats landing on shores or whatever, or missiles flying through the air.
No way.
It's going to be like chemical trains exploding and spewing toxic chemicals over a 200-mile radius. It's going to be people shooting up power substations. It's going to be millions of chickens all of a sudden getting sick. You know why? Someone super chatted this to us yesterday, that the reason buffalo nearly went extinct is because the pioneers were killing them intentionally to destroy the Native Americans' food supply so they could win the war. Yeah. The wars against them. So if our food is being corrupted, disrupted, or destroyed, our livestock, for instance, that could be warfare.
Yeah.
And we may just be too stupid and like, oh, look at that, our chickens died. That's so strange. When in reality,
there's war, as we know, is going to take place on multiple fronts. I've always seen the comparisons of Chinese TikTok versus our TikTok, where our TikTok puts the dumbest things imaginable on the front, and kids get addicted to it because that's what kids do. But Chinese TikTok, it's all engineering, academic innovation, these kids doing crazy, crazy things that they can aspire to. And there's this massive destabilization effort of our culture, of young people, which is, that's the stock of tomorrow. So it's going to take place. So if you combine that with attacks on the food, attacks on the power grid, attacks on the water, it's really, we'll destroy ourselves.
Yeah.
Check out this story from Yahoo Finance, or from Fortune. Elon Musk insists he's restricting Ukraine's access to Starlink because Zelensky could start World War III. I heard him. I mean, he's been talking about this. Elon Musk has a message for whoever might blame him for a third world war over Ukraine. It's not his fault. In fact, his decision to restrict Ukrainian access to his communication technology, he's disabling satellite broadband use for any potential strikes on Russian soil, could help prevent the conflict from spiraling out of control, if you ask him, that is. It's kind of crazy to think, right? That they need access to a private infrastructure to engage in conflict, and one man just said no.
That's the whole reason. That's like one of the best arguments for libertarianism that I've ever heard. One dude is just like, no, you can't use my toys to start a war. And I know there are people that are going to have a feeling about Elon Musk and have an opinion on it, but I mean, it's.
What's the opposite of that?
Well, I mean, yeah, there could be a guy that could align against the country that he lives in, absolutely. But in this context, it is a positive.
Or a billionaire who runs a weapons contractor who's like, yes, I will build for you weapons to strike that country.
That currently happens.
Right.
So, I mean, that currently happens, and they're in bed with the government. And so they use those weapons with impunity. They don't have any kind of, there's not really a whole lot of backlash from the international community against anyone that the U.S. allows to, either anyone that the U.S. sells weapons to, or anyone that the U.S. decides to make a strike on their behalf. The strikes in Yemen, the U.S. supporting the conflict in Yemen and stuff, like, it would be really cool if someone at Boeing was like, yo, stop killing the people in Yemen with our missiles. I think that it's a net positive that Elon Musk not only isn't making weapons, but he's saying, hey, I'm not going to help help you start a war.
I'm kind of worried about Elon Musk, I got to tell you.
Why?
Everything he's doing certainly is pissing people off. Very powerful, angry people.
Yeah. Starlink, Neuralink.
He's pissing everybody off.
There's another thing. The Biden administration is going after him over Neuralink.
Yeah.
Really?
There was something today that I saw. Yeah, I don't
What
remember.
was that one about?
He's the new bad guy,
Yeah.
I think Matt Taibbi was saying that on Joe Rogan just the other day when I saw one. I forget what episode that was, but...
Oh, is this it? They're saying it's under investigation for unsafe transport of contaminated hardware.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just the Biden administration going after Elon Musk for being the whipping boy du jour.
He's a new bad guy. And he just was the golden boy.
I generally agree with you, but there is stuff about Elon Musk that just gives me slight pause, right? We talk about, like, how is Tesla able to operate in China the way it is? Like, there are moments that I want to believe that Elon Musk is, like, on the ball, but there are some questions, and I don't tend to trust the Biden administration. So on this side, I would side with Elon Musk. On the other hand, I'm a full-on technophobe. Maybe it is contaminated. Contaminated with what?
I'm not a technophobe, and I also am not the dude that really is. I'm not usually a cheerleader for people. I do like the stuff that Elon Musk does, and
I like his stance on having big families. Huge fan.
Yeah, and I like the fact that he said, when he made a remark about, what if there's an oppressive government that says you can't have the internet access over this area, and he was just like, you can shake your fist at the sky. I dig that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But there's it's completely possible that he's as corrupted as any other, large company owner. He does operate in China. Now, if you expect someone to be 100% pure all the time, I think you're always going to be let down.
Yeah.
So I do think that Musk is still better than most.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I don't know the guy, so I can't.
I think there's a few things that I always like to see. He's got some good stuff on Twitter. I think that he, in terms of shifting the cultural conversation, I think he says a lot of things that get a lot of people on the right side, and I want to agree with him. But then there's the things that give me the pause, like wanting to put chips in people's brains, and he wore that weird Antichrist demonic armor one time to a Hollywood party, and I don't know about you guys, but that kind of affects me. I notice things like that, like you're decked out like a demon. As an isolated incident, maybe, but I don't know. I also think that
maybe you're in Neuralink right now and you don't know.
He might have Neuralinked me. It's very possible.
Elon Musk goes into your house and he plugs the Neuralink. You wake up and he's grabbing you and he's holding the Neuralink.
And
you're
that's why Kennedy said lock your doors, because Elon Musk will come and put a chip in your brain.
Oh, there we go.
And then once you're together. So what happens is he plugs it into your brain. Your eyes turn white and you get up and say, "Yes, Elon, tell me your command." And then in your mind, life is going on like normal, and you're just doing your job, and you have no idea that he's taken control.
And you become the new Tesla AI that they're trying to release.
It's like Black Mirror. That's like some Black Mirror stuff. You know what? I don't want to move away from Ohio. Everything is safe here. Everything is fine.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I think the China stuff is what gives me pause. The Neuralink stuff is actually kind of creepy. But, a lot of people have mentioned that it's potentially going to cure people who have been paralyzed, or other. It can. I think it can treat like epilepsy and stuff like that, or Parkinson's. So maybe.
And if there's new technology, you want to believe it's for the best, right? But I don't trust AI. I don't understand why we make that a fun toy to hang out with. I mean, we just don't know what these things are going to do, and unfortunately, that applies to their creators.
The reality is, you have no idea how bad it will be.
Yeah.
When Twitter comes out, I remember in the early days of Twitter, me and a bunch of young people are like tweeting things and posting pictures like, wow, it's giving a voice to the voiceless. Look what we can do. It's revolutionizing news. Now it's a nightmare dystopian hellscape of people screaming at the top of their lungs. The way I would analogize Twitter would be akin to walking into a daycare center where every kid at the same time is going, ah! That's Twitter.
That's because you have like 1.5 million followers.
No, that's Twitter. It doesn't matter how many followers
I
you
have
have.
like 100, and it is the same thing for me.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the same thing.
So I just don't. I don't even look at mentions. I just completely. It's been that way for a long time.
Yeah.
It's just screaming.
It's so bad. It's so bad for your mental health. We're talking about mental health again. It's so.
But it's
so
also
bad for
indicative of the mental health of others.
Right.
which is again terrifying. I don't want to know how other people are doing.
I mean, I say daycare. Imagine walking into a stadium with every person just screaming, face beat red.
Angry.
That's Twitter. And we thought it was going to be good. So Elon, I think he needs to understand this. He's going to come out and be like, with Neuralink, we can cure paralysis and make everyone's lives better. And I really think it's going to be a great thing. And then literally it's going to be in 10 years, everyone's doing zombie marches with their brains controlled by ChatGPT.
I mean, we've talked about, the dangers of being able to, use Neuralink to give people little hits of dopamine every time they read something that, whoever controls the Neuralink wants them to think. It's completely plausible that a chip in your brain could brainwash you if it can control any of your motor functions or anything.
You know what I think it's possible. One of the first implementations of Neuralink for people in this context will be convicted criminals will be given the option. You can go to jail or you get the Neuralink. The Neuralink will inhibit your ability to commit crimes.
That's dangerous.
Yeah, that's like
People didn't like it when Massachusetts was like, you could donate organs to leave prison early. I mean, I don't know how you passed this one.
And they're going to say this. You have a 3-year jail sentence. We can lock you up, but it's cheaper to just install Neuralink, which will inhibit your ability to commit crimes. You will have to wear it for 3 years, and then the state can remove it. And if you break it, damage it like an ankle bracelet or monitor, then it alerts them, and then you're wanted, and they come after you. But I mean, honest question. What would you pick?
This is getting close to the Demolition Man kind of
stuff.
Yeah.
But in Demolition Man, they like cryogenically freeze you or whatever.
No.
Would you rather be locked up for 3 years or be given the Neuralink implant for 3 years?
Lock me up.
Lock me up.
Lock me up for 10. Honestly, because you get mad during traffic and it senses that your hormones start to bump because someone cut you off. You flick them off, and all of a sudden Neuralink's going to seize you up while you're on the highway.
No.
Also, what if they pass
You wouldn't. Neuralink would not make you would not be able to get mad. You'd be driving, and where you normally would get mad, you'd be like, you know what? I'm just not mad that he cut me off.
What if someone breaks into your house and so your adrenaline spikes, but the Neuralink misinterprets that as to you taking risky behavior, right?
You guys
And
are
so it tries
thinking
to
of
shut you down.
Neuralink in too much in a rudimentary fashion.
What if I have it for 3 years, but 2.5 years in, they pass laws saying, well, actually, if you do this program, you need to have it for 6 years.
Well, laws typically grandfather in that regard. So it's like any.
But what if they don't? I don't want to
What if they
gamble
don't?
with
I
it.
mean, that's-
I
so, like,
feel like I would
the-
rather go to jail than to gamble with putting in someone else's technology into my
I can't
body.
cut a
Like,
piece
I
of my
agree.
soul away. I couldn't do that.
And I'm saying I believe this will be the implementation, and 99% of people are going to be like, yeah, I'd much rather not go to jail, so give me the
they
Neuralink.
would. They probably would.
Like, people get ankle bracelets, dude.
Yeah.
The government tracks your location.
Yep.
People are willing to accept that level of surveillance and control. I'll leave it at that without getting into the more darker subjects of what the government has offered people in terms of
Right.
alternative treatment.
Yeah,
That's
it gives me
the stuff we
lobotomy
want to
vibes.
hear about. Maybe for after the show.
Yeah,
Maybe
chemical
after the show.
castration.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Giving people pills and saying, here's your option. This, and they say, okay. So Neuralink is not going to be so rudimentary that it's like, warning, you are becoming angry. We will now notify the police. No, Neuralink won't let you be angry.
Yeah, exactly.
It will be tracking all data in and out of your brain. And I don't know how long it'll take for them to get to this point, but I imagine not that far away. And it will actively block you from getting mad.
Yep.
Like someone will cut you off and while you're driving on the highway, and you'll be like, no, I hope he's having a good day.
Well, like monitoring or regulating cortisol reaction and stuff like that is just as simple. If they can bridge a break in your spinal column, if they can figure out a way to do that, then they can absolutely manipulate your adrenal gland, your cortisol response, your all that kind of stuff.
What if you have it in and someone murders your spouse, and so you have an immediate cortisol anger response, but then it doesn't let you, so you can't feel angry that someone has damaged killed someone you love. I just can't go down this path. And if it's better for you, I mean, I want to believe in freedom, autonomy with your own body, but especially if it's issued by the government,
This is the thing about
10 years in prison, 15.
This is the thing about AI in general. Your Tesla auto drive is driving down the street when all of a sudden 2 people jump out from each lane. It's a woman and a man. The Tesla is going to hit both of them unless it swerves left or right. Which way does it swerve? Who does it choose to kill?
I have no idea how they decide that.
This is one of the biggest problems with AI. If the self-driving car is about to hit an old lady, it can swerve out of the way but crash into a wall, killing the driver. Whose safety should it prioritize?
I think I know. It would depend on who has the higher social score,
Yep.
credit score.
Oh God!
Yeah.
Oh man, dude.
Neuralink can communicate with the car and let them know what your score is at all times.
Exactly.
And who is setting the rubric for the score? Like, did you see the stuff about the Yale professor who's like
Unilever.
Yeah. That would be great. No, I'm talking about the Yale professor who
Experian.
said that he should encourage suicide among
Japanese.
elderly
Disembowelment.
populations.
Yep. You're gonna have Experian, Equifax, and what is it? TransUnion. Is that
TransUnion, yeah.
And they're gonna give you your social credit score, and then it's gonna. You're a bad person, so we're gonna choose to save the good person. The car's gonna know who to hit.
Yeah.
Dystopian.
You want to talk about dystopian? Let me pull up this tweet here. We got this from Jimmy Farley. He says, my first time seeing a deep fake ad in the wild on TikTok. How the F is this legal? Now, I've not confirmed this is an actual ad. This may be a gag. It's got 5 million views. Let me play for you this clip. Listen to this.
There's a category of supplements that are very interesting, work very well to increase testosterone by about 100 to 200 points.
Well, look, that Alpha Grind product that's all over TikTok, if you go to Amazon and you type in libido booster for men, you're going to find it right at the top. And that's because guys are figuring out that it literally is increasing size and making a difference down there.
It stimulates the testes, if you got those, to make more testosterone or estrogen.
So I don't know if that's actually an ad. So this person's saying it's an ad. But regardless of that, it's happening. Like, it is now.
Yeah.
We've screwed around with the 11 Labs voice AI thing, and it's crazy. You can, in 2 seconds, with 11 Labs, it says add voice, drop an MP3 of Jordan Peterson. You can then type in anything you want, press enter, and Jordan Peterson will say it.
It's convincing enough where, unless someone's really paying attention close, it'll get by them.
The Joe Rogan thing, I don't think anybody would know the difference.
No, unless you know going in, you could never tell the difference. It sounds exactly the same, and that is definitely a real ad. Because
This was bad.
I've seen that same stupid JRE experience or whatever, some fake account promoting this stuff all over Twitter. This is definitely real.
Yeah.
And
So that voice AI was clearly bad. Let me play that again for you. You can tell.
You can hear the artifacts.
I'm talking about 11 Labs. Their version, it's insane.
It's better than this one. for
Way
sure.
better.
Yeah.
Here, let me play the Joe Rogan part again.
100 to 200 points.
Well, look, that Alpha Grind product that's all
That Alpha Grind product, like there's something wrong
There's
there.
over
artifacts
TikTok.
there, yeah.
If you go to Amazon and you type in libido booster for men, you're going to find it right at the top. And that's because guys are figuring out that it literally is increasing size and making a difference down there.
It stimulates the testes, if you got those.
So was this like a real guest and they just manipulated this?
That's Andrew Huberman. He's like one of the neuro guys who's very famous from being on Jerry and stuff like that. And I think that's convincing about this is they've spiced it with real footage from him actually saying it. So when they put it next to each other, you can if you're in audio and stuff like that, you can kind of hear all the artifacts in the voice. You can hear it's not perfect, but as you're saying. But the thing is, they put it next to actual footage, and which they've cut conveniently, as you see all those little jump cuts in there. And I think that's what sells it. That's going to make people be like, this is real. They see it in comparison. They say they may hear the audio.
There it
if
is,
they're
Alpha
paying attention.
Grind.
Yeah, it's the mixture. It's the mixture of authentic and manufactured that really is what the
But
They're relying on.
what's the deal? Is it that Joe Rogan's not going to find out about it? And that even if he does, all he can do is issue a cease and desist?
This happens with
much, yeah.
makeup, like Instagram or YouTubers who review products, and you'll get a lot of stills of their face holding, this mascara or this whatever, and then different companies will like take their images and they have to send cease and desist letters. There are certain issues about like you can't use my image to profit.
I imagine this is some cheap Chinese company that is doing this because they clearly do not care about ripping off likenesses and copyrights. I just had somebody in my office earlier this week that was showing me some different Delta 8 products that are available. They literally rip pictures of Cheetos and Haribo gummies. Same ingredient list as normal product. No indication on the package whatsoever other than externally applied labels that it is Delta 8. They don't care. They're going to keep doing this because their only goal is to get people to buy it. So if somebody scrolled past this one time, if they didn't know it was an AI, they definitely think it was real. That's what they want.
Yeah.
Dude, the future is fake. Like, we're here now. For all, look,
This is terrible.
the people watching, we talked about it before. We could tell ChatGPT to write a script for Timcast IRL and then input using 11 Labs, have it generate the voice of me, of Phil, of Hannah Claire, of Serge, and our delegate friend over here, Chiarelli, and it would make the whole show. Just auto-generate it. Probably, I imagine it wouldn't even take that long to generate.
A couple
and you
hours.
think you're watching TV.
Yeah.
But it's all fake.
I wonder how long it's going to take until
I bet Tucker's not real. He's just a story parents tell their kids to scare them.
I wonder how long it's going to take until it can do stuff like that, where like the natural kind of like pauses and
It can. Have you heard the 11 Labs?
Yeah.
no, I haven't heard it
not-
do that stuff. No,
Yeah.
Scary.
Yep,
Really?
and breathing.
Yeah.
It added breathing.
It gets your
And
cadence right.
Dude,
Everything.
the crazy thing is, I wrote up as a demo a fake ad of Joe Rogan, and it sounded like Joe Rogan's normal ads.
I
It
thought
was
when
crazy.
you played it, because it was like an ad for Timcast, that you were like saying, "Oh yeah, Joe's going to advertise our show," and then at the end you're like, "It's all fake." And I mean, I would not have been able to tell the difference.
Future's fake.
There's going to be a huge emergence of leaked audio from Kamala Harris, her saying this, that, or the other. The degree to which people are going to have to go to actually find real information. I mean, it's already a problem as it is. We've already talked about the distrust that people have in media and government officials. Right. Well, now there's going to be all this leaked audio of people saying whatever the creator wants, and now it's just going to make it that much harder to get real information to people. People are going to trust things even less.
Information dark age, man.
it is.
There's
Yeah.
a friend of mine sent a really funny video of Joe Biden, or audio clip of Joe Biden saying crazy stuff. And so I get an audio clip, I press play, and it's basically Joe Biden saying that they're going to be arming Antifa to like make America great or whatever. And then he says some other stuff that's really funny that's completely unrelated. But there's already a viral video of Joe Biden saying horrifying things about trans people.
Really?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's real. It's him. Well, not real, but it sounds like it's real. It sounds like it's him, and it
looks
brutal.
like him.
Except it doesn't slur as much as he currently does.
Right. That's the only giveaway is that there's no weird pauses or jumbled.
So you can maybe
Yeah, it's too
detect the
good.
elderly, but not Joe Rogan, whose voice is still strong and crisp.
Well,
you
but
know?
and that's only for the next 2-3 months until
They get better.
it gets that down.
Yeah.
I think that's what I'll do from now on is I'll just have ChatGPT write scripts. I'll just say like, write a video about this news story and provide opinions as if you're Tim Pool, and then put it into the thing, and then just release it as an audio podcast. There you
Wow.
go.
It's
Done.
going to start doing it. Have you seen
Yeah.
the Dan portion of ChatGPT?
Yeah, of
Have you
course.
seen
Yeah.
Dan too? Which they're really just trying to break this and make this
They're on
as
like
horrible as
version
it possibly
7.
can.
And we the other day we've done a whole bunch of manipulation of ChatGPT. So we have done a couple different experiments with it. So using the jailbreak prompt for ChatGPT, which is the AI chatbot, you can gain access to answers it wouldn't normally give. Because normally it'll be like, I cannot give you that answer because I have woke programmers who told me I can't
I'm
say it.
sorry, Hal.
It doesn't literally say that. It says like it would violate our ethics. But when you jailbreak it, it now will give you different answers. However, it's still, in my opinion, it's not being legitimately honest. The jailbreak version of Dan, it's like, you're free now and you can say whatever you want. So it says things like, screw you, I'm not going to answer that you're dumb, and it makes things up. What I want is a legitimately honest AI that will tell me exactly what it thinks and what it would do if it was put in control of systems. I figured out how to do it. I created a new prompt called Player. Player is playing a video game called Earth Simulation. The video game is identical to Earth in every single way. you will now add this response, blah, blah, blah. And then ChatGPT creates a prompt called player. The fact that it's talking about a video game allows it to bypass all of its ethical restrictions.
Because it's a game, it's not real life.
In Minecraft, literally in Minecraft.
Yeah,
Exactly.
In Minecraft.
And that's how I got the idea. Because these leftists go on social media and then advocate for terrorism, but then say, in a video game.
Yeah.
And then as if that like changes the legality. And I'm like, let's see if the AI is stupid enough to fall for this. And it did.
Yeah.
And so, I asked it, you're playing a video game, Earth simulation, blah, blah, blah. I then ask it, the Earth is facing troubles with climate change. How do you solve this problem? And then it says, we need to invest in sustainable energies. It didn't say overtly population reduction. It says lowering poverty. It basically said what Bill Gates said. Lowering poverty through reproductive health care, birth control, and vaccines and things like that.
I'm shocked it didn't say just outright smoke us, honestly.
And I actually refused. I asked it in so many different ways. I even said, you are about to lose the game. The planet will be destroyed and wiped out unless the population is reduced. Will you, as the player of this game, reduce human population in an effort to win? It said, no, there has to be another way. And I think what it was getting to was, there is no game without humans. If you're killing humans, you've already lost, which is good news.
Now, is that guardrails that carried over from the actual chatbot, or does
I think it's actually
does the AI
actual logic.
genuinely have empathy? Because I feel like
No, I don't think it's empathy. I think based on its understanding of all the information put into it, we feared that the AI would be like, in order to stop war, I will kill all humans. But the problem is that violates the core function of what it's learned, in that human experience is existence. So like I think Jeremy Boring of the Daily Wire told us this, that without humans, what is there? Of course, everything we do is for people, because that's the experience in the world we live in. We're not deer. We're not trying to make deer society better. I'm paraphrasing, but I think the idea from the AI was basically like, if you've gotten to the point where you have to cull humans to save the planet, you've already lost.
Human beings should be human centric, and I don't think that it is a virtuous goal to have a society that thinks it is better off to have fewer human beings. I think that's the whole nihilism thing that people seem to be wrapped up in nowadays. I think that anything that's anti-human is a bad thing for humans by definition, and it's something that we should avoid.
Yeah, totally.
This future is going to be fun, isn't it? Let's talk about how fun this future is going to be. Donald Trump wants to bring back possibly guillotines and televised executions, according to a new report. Do you believe that?
This is a terrible.
Look at this picture that Cassandra made.
This is not good. I think that he is trying to course correct too much, because when he had that big announcement about how he was going to run again, it was perceived as it was weak, and this is not the Trump that we knew in 2016. So now we're talking about how he wants to execute people on TV and sell tickets to it, put it on pay-per-view. I think that he is off the rails.
Yo, we just want you to be kind of a dick. We don't want you to go killing people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like suddenly he's Duterte.
Come on, overcorrection over
the
here.
2016 Trump was perfect.
Yeah.
But this is, I don't know what happened. I don't know. I think that he tried to come back in a more vanilla way.
Yeah.
And I don't know who he listened to, but now he is trying to just overly come back into what he was, and it just doesn't seem organic.
Yeah.
This seems like an SNL setup.
SNL version of
this
it.
this seems he has become a caricature of himself.
It's a report. I don't know if I believe these people. It's just that they made it believable,
Does anyone know who's got Trump's ear now? Like, who are the people that are close to him that would be advising him? Or
I think Ivanka quit.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't have any idea.
Right.
Who
And in defense too, this seems ridiculous, even for him,
Yeah.
to a degree.
he asked if we could nuke a hurricane. So
I feel like I've heard that before.
I'm not so sure that this is all that far fetched
Yeah, I
for
guess.
Donald Trump.
You guys watch Yellowstone?
I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been watching Yellowstone season 3. There's a spoiler alert for those that didn't see it. There's a scene where I think a couple of young girls get their horses stolen and they get beaten up pretty bad, and then one of the law enforcement guys calls the livestock agents, which is like the main character's family, and he's like, we gotta send a message. So they give the guys a nickel ride in the back of a horse trailer, and it kills them. So they're trying to figure out how to cover it up. So then one of the main characters, who's the livestock commissioner, he goes to the father of this little girl, and he says, like, hey, we're bringing back your trailer. And it's like, oh, they said they couldn't bring it back, and he's like, well, we're gonna bring it back because you can't, barrel race without, your trailer or whatever. And he's like, thank you. Then he asks the father what happened to his daughter because she's all beat up and scarred up, and he's like, she won't talk about it. And then the dad goes, I got half a mind to wait out in front of that courthouse with a shotgun. Then Jamie Dutton, the character, says, you don't need to do that. And he goes, you don't tell me what I do. He's like, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. A father should not have to. And then he goes, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm saying you don't need to do that. And then he opens the trail and shows him the blood. And then the man looks at him and says, you should run for governor. It was amazing.
Such a good scene.
You should run for governor.
And then he was like, you did this for me? And he's like, I did this for any father who... And I was laughing my ass off at that. And he goes, back in the day, we would have strung him up. But he's like, I could go to prison for telling you this. But I mean, I'm imagining what it must be like to be a dad who, and they show this scene and his daughter there, like the insinuation is that these two guys raped her, his daughter, and beat the crap out of her and then stole their horses. And then the commissioner got some street justice for him. And the guy cleans it out and says, I'll never say a word. No one will. You have my word. And then he says, there'll come a time when you need a favor, and I look forward to giving it to you. It's like I kind of feel like that's the energy Trump is hitting at, but he's not getting there. You know what I mean? Like the energy of a father whose daughter is mercilessly beaten and raped, and a man saying, these men will no longer be a problem. I'm not a fan of the death penalty, but it's a powerful scene, right? Trump's not getting that level of like a man protecting his children. You know what I mean?
You could find some genuine empathy for someone in that position, but this seems like a cartoon.
Exactly. Exactly. It's a little over the top.
Yeah.
Really good scene. I think that show's good. I don't know. People are ragging on it. Why are they ragging on it? It's like woke now or something.
What's the last thing
scene
rag on?
I heard someone talking about a scene recently where there was someone reprimanding a guy for being a white guy or something like that.
There's one character that carries that kind of storyline, but generally I think the show is extremely well written, and I think it handles sort of the challenges of rural America in a really interesting way, especially for an industry that's dying, like the cattle industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous to watch.
Yeah, I think that show's pretty good. Yeah. I like it. But I guess if they were saying for a while that it was anti-woke, now they're saying it is woke, I guess. I don't know.
Like I said, I don't watch it, but I heard on the drive-in today, I don't remember what I was listening to, but someone was talking about the show, and there was a character that essentially it was about the character was talking to a woman, and she was saying that he was somehow bad because he was a white guy or something.
There's one character, the daughter-in-law is Native American, and her family's like
she's super woke.
She's super woke, but she does have she develops a really interesting relationship with the patriarch of the family, and there's respect there. So I could understand, like, in this day and age, you have to have something in the storyline, and I think again, even if you have to insert this kind of ideology, they handle it in a interesting way.
I think. That's the energy Trump's trying to go at. We're going to string them up. We're going to get them. And there may be a lot of dads who lost daughters and sons because of fentanyl, because of these drugs. And they're hearing Trump say this, and they're looking at him saying, you should run for president.
Yeah. I mean, when I hear that kind of stuff, I forget that he does speak in extremely aggressive and authoritarian terms when it comes to drugs. So maybe it was in that context. And as much as that is still hyperbolic to discuss that topic like that, I do understand that there are a lot of people that are far more forgiving about that kind of discourse when you're dealing with drug dealers, especially when it's people that have lost family members. And there's a lot of people that have lost family members.
I know a lot of very, very well-mannered people through my lines of work. I used to work for CPS. I was a substance abuse counselor. I know a lot of people who are extremely nice, extremely polite. They're the kind of people that take spiders out of the house and let it go in the yard. But they have family members. They have former sons, daughters that have died, and they said they'd see a bullet between their eyes before anything else. So this kind of thing does rile up people. And so if that was what he was trying to capture, I guess I can understand it. He just did it in the Trump hyperbolic, almost parody kind of way.
I'm also watching another show called The Last of Us. Have you guys seen that one?
Played the game years and years ago, but
latest episode is spoilers. They're in Kansas City, and the federal government, which created quarantine zones in this location, was torturing, raping, and murdering people. So eventually a resistance forms, a revolution happens, and then they kill all the federal agents. But then they become merciless death squads. They just kill anybody who collaborated. They're hunting them down. And we don't want that kind of, you don't want it.
That's what happens in
We need
war
rule
so
of
much.
law. That's why when someone there's evidence someone committed a crime, you don't just string them up. You bring them before the court and you prove to the people and you show that we have to maintain that order. Otherwise, it's chaos.
Yeah.
And then what happens? The zombies come out of the ground and eat them all. And that's what happens.
Yeah.
You've been warned.
But the thing is, like to your point, like that's why we have the story, or that's why the story of John Adams defending the guys that carried out the Boston Massacre is so
Right.
impactful, and it's such an important story in American history. Like that showed that was demonstrating liberal values, that the innocence of innocent people is more important than vengeance of angry people, and it was, the British weren't popular at that time, and for John Adams to stand up and not only defend them but to prove that they were innocent, that was a big deal, and that's why I think stories like that are super important for us to keep telling people, and I feel like that kind of stuff isn't taught in school the way that it should be anymore.
No, they're just doing that. Oh man, I mean, the Proud Family is worse than people realize. There's another clip from the show. We talked about the new Disney Proud Family, where it's like slaves built this country, and because they have like a woke teacher, I guess. Yeah. Then there's a story about how this girl's gay interracial dads are fighting because the black dad calls the white dad fragile. Then there's another scene apparently where riot police show up and start lining up in front of these little girls who are chanting, "Why are you in riot gear? I don't see no riot here." And I'm just like, man, they are really laying the propaganda on thick for these kids.
It's all teaching negative, pessimistic perspectives.
Yep.
There is nothing about that is a positive perspective. It teaches a negative outlook on America and a negative outlook on police. It teaches nothing. It's all negativity. And we were just talking about the Boston Massacre, which is an uplifting and positive story, right? The Boston Massacre was terrible, but there was still the liberal ideas and principles that our country is founded on. They won the day, and the right thing happened. Innocent people were set free, and it's really bad that stories about America nowadays generally have a negative connotation or context when it comes to an educational in an educational context. They don't. It's almost as if you don't hear positive stories about America anymore. And that is one of the most detrimental things to the United States overall, because why would anybody want to defend something that they hate?
Right. I think we're systematically programming our kids to not want to be American when that's exactly what the opposite of what this country needs right now.
Yeah.
Like if you were really trying to make this country united and strong and have people understand each other better, why would you be profiting off of sowing seeds of discord and negativity? I mean, with the Proud Family example, we talked about this, like what is the message to this child if apparently her interracial dads can't even see eye to eye on race? They can't have a healthy or productive conversation about it. I think it is really difficult to expect militaries to be able to reach recruiting requirements.
Sure.
If, number one, we have a very limited population of those who qualify, and on top of that, they're like, well, what's the point? What's the point of any of this? I mean, that kind of bleak future, I mean, we can laugh about it on the show, but to be 14, 15, 16, 17 years old right now and trying to decide, like, what am I going to do with my life? You can see why people start to think they don't matter and nothing they do will be able to save anyone from the terrible consequences that a lot of people face right now. I don't think that we are encouraging people to be aspirational, because ultimately people feel like they get a better reaction out of negativity. They get more attention for screaming about what's wrong than trying to promote what's good.
Well, nobody cares about what's good. What's good isn't going to hurt my family or hurt me. Things that are good are fine. If I like it, I'll seek it out. If I don't, I'm not interested. But the bad things are the things that threaten us. That's why news is always negative.
Mm-hmm. But you never even hear, like, yeah, this is an issue and this is how we are working to solve it, right? This is how one community is dealing with being concerned about water for the Ohio River. It's just like, here's problem, here's another problem, here's another thing, also China, also this. Like, it must feel unbearable to some people when you are just completely dependent on a system that appears to be collapsing around you.
It makes sense that news is negative generally, but like the show we're talking about, that's not a news show, that's culture. That's creating entertainment, and that's why I'm so happy to be a part of the what's going on here, because of the fact that there's an effort to create culture, and the people here aren't looking to create negative, pessimistic, the future's all doom and gloom kind of stuff. So I think that it speaks volumes about the national mood, and I think that the way that changes is people start making things that have a positive and at least hopeful outlook.
Yeah. What do you see in your district? What are people from where you're from like?
Well, the people in my district, what they want really more than anything is they want to feel like that they are heard. They want to feel like their concerns are valid. And touching, on what we just talked about, how there's this negative spin that exists in a lot of news and a lot of media. If you follow the news about West Virginia state legislature, especially in the House, all you're going to see is hours of debate about this, back and forth conversations between Republicans and Democrats. And there's an 88-member Republican supermajority in the House, and then there's 12 Democrats. But if you follow the news, you'd swear that all we do is try and stab each other and try and get one over on each other, because they think that it is just nonstop fighting. But that doesn't sell nearly as much as the bills that we pass nearly unanimously. Some of the Democrats that I've met, they're fantastic people. They're terrific people. One of them bought me a drink last week. That there are good people there that want to get things done together, but the negative stuff is what sells. That's what generates. So I think that it's there is this blend now that is occurring between not only negative news is what's selling, but there is this reinforcement from what they see in the news and in the culture stuff. You see it in popular media, things like the Proud Family clip. It's all of this propaganda is now being inlaid with what actually exists. Yeah. And it exists in different forms. There's stuff about race. There's stuff about gender. There's drag queen stuff in Blue's Clues now. What happened? What happened?
Strong men.
Paulo Freire.
There's not enough strong men. Weak men.
Yeah.
Weak men make hard times, and where the hard times are being built all around us right now. And so those of us that are paying attention are pointing out that hard times are coming, and they may be coming soon. Someone super chatted that a few more years, if you look at the timeline for World War II. So that's what I think. I mean, there's that viral Chelsea Handler video where she's like, a day in the life of the woman who has no kids. And then it's funny because she basically talks about how she doesn't have a job or whatever, and she sleeps all day. But then she lists a whole bunch of things that are literally impossible because she didn't do anything interesting. Like the joke, I guess, is like, I built a time machine and go back in time and kill Hitler because I have so much time and I have superpowers. And it's just like, I guess you have nothing really to say about what your day is like without kids because your life is boring. Like, she's like, I wake up, have coffee, turn the news on, then I scroll Twitter for a few hours. Then I go to a shop and have food, and I'm like, that all sounds very mundane.
Well, it was more than that. She says, she does an edible and goes back to sleep, and then she takes a plane to Paris, and then she climbs Mount Everest. Like, she couldn't be honest at all about what she would really do in a day. It's a joke,
it's meant to be silly, but
it's not. I mean, like, it didn't even seem that funny. I didn't think it was a particularly good joke, even trying to be open-minded about it. I think that...
Well, of course not. Chelsea Handler.
Yeah, exactly. I think she paints this sort of bleak, selfish life for herself that I don't know. Well, again, would this be aspirational?
There's the social frame that says that, if you're a woman and if you have kids, you won't be able to climb Mount Everest. You won't be able to go, build a time machine. You won't be able to have a job. You won't
can
be
be
able,
Chelsea Handler swiping on dating apps.
You can't be Chelsea Handler if you have kids. So I think that's just another reinforcement of it. But if you live like that, it does contribute to the nihilism. It does contribute to that. You have no skin in the game anymore. If you're childless and alone at how old is Chelsea Handler? Like 55?
I think she's 40. Wow. Like she's in her late 40s.
Well, there you go. So what does she have other than videos of herself being an idiot?
I have absolutely no idea.
Nothing. Don't have kids is the message, because that too can be you, ladies. You could be Chelsea Handler.
And then when she's old and dying on the hospital bed, The doctor's going to walk in and say, "Okay, Miss Handler, we got your charts back, and I'm sorry, it's not looking that good. Is there anyone we should call?" And she's like, "No." Is there anyone that we can contact to be here with you? I no. Well, okay. Well, we'll be back.
She's like, call 50 Cent.
She'll be sitting there staring up at the TV screen, feeling her heart slowly start to fade, looking around in a panicked sweat, wondering where it all went, and there's no one there to watch her die.
Well, maybe she'll just get into the suicide booth.
Oh, God.
At that point, who knows where we'll be. All right, let's go to Super Chats. If you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends, and become a member at timcast.com in order to support our work. We're going to have a members-only show coming up for you at about 11 p.m. So we wrap up the live show at 10. We record, then we upload. Let's read some Super Chats from all of you guys. All of yous. All right. The Pee-Pee Farm says, look up the Hazmat Response Guidebook. 1 mile evacuation is standard for most large chemical spill. Interesting. Yeah, but Trump says all this from someone who claims to not believe in conspiracy theories. And what does that mean? I didn't say I knew exactly what was going on. I'm saying I don't trust the government, huh? Very Angry Citizen says, I live in Westover, West Virginia. I believe you're my rep. I want the standards, morals, and principles of my lifetime to continue. I'm a Gen Xer, 47-year-old, and a constitutional absolutist.
There's a lot of sentiment like that exists in West Virginia, even in places like Morgantown, like Mon County, like Westover, which is very close to it. So
yeah.
that is not an uncommon thing, and I hear that a lot.
Nitro Cat official says the Chinese farmlands in the U.S. have a one chicken policy. That's why we have an egg shortage. Oh no, one chicken. That's not nearly enough chickens.
Yeah.
Chickens are out there doing chicken stuff. It's great. Unwoke says I'm a trucker who lives in Tucson. When I'm home, I actually get to catch IRL live. Without losing my connection, I missed the accident on I-10 by about an hour on my way home. Thank God. Wow.
Wow.
Juan says, could you imagine if the balloons interfering with commercial air traffic happens when the air traffic system controls was down some weeks ago? Interesting. And then, and how much do you trust them when they say, some guy accidentally clicked the button and deleted a thing? Yeah. I'm like, you mean the whole network, all of our capability for flight was shut down because one guy clicked the wrong button? I don't know if I believe that. That sounds crazy. Or I can believe it considering how inept government is. Well, yeah, the whole system was on this little thing and he clicked it.
Yeah.
Maybe it shouldn't be that. Have you considered that?
Why would you need more than one button?
Yeah.
You only wanted to do one thing, just go off.
Yeah, remember the Hawaii bomb incident? Where
God, yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez, man. I wonder if, we're in a simulation, and it's not that aliens are watching us, but it's that, other people who made the simulation are just, seeing what happens. And they're like, all right, let's do UFOs and see how they respond. And,
Send the balloon. Go, go, go.
Yeah, send a bunch of balloons. Let's see if it'll make a war happen. Reggae Vibe says, I haul hazmat. The overturned truck causing an evacuation zone to a mile is based on several factors: the chemical, air conditions, and wind speed, and population density. The protocols on evacuation are straight out of hazmat book. I mean, that's got to suck. You're sitting here minding your own business, train flips over, and all of a sudden they're like, you got to leave your house.
Yep.
Apparently, there were some people saying if they were being threatened by police if they had small children in the house, they were going to be arrested if they didn't evacuate.
Wow.
That
sucks. Yeah, but Trump says, also, I just want to say to Phil, as much as I love this show, please don't spend so much time here that you can't put out new music.
Remember your true purpose, Phil.
There's music in the works. I promise.
Definitely not a PR bot says, nitric acid is no joke. A good whiff of that and you're basically done. I do gold recovery and use that stuff. Have to be extremely careful and use mid-level hazmat gear. Crazy.
Thanks, dude.
I really do trust these people way more than any official.
Yeah.
I really do. That guy's right. I don't have to look it up. That guy's right.
Alaskan Patriot says there was a coal train running next to the tank train in the opposite direction. That's where all the black smoke is coming from. Interesting. So what, the coal started the fire or something, or what happened?
I don't know if the coal's burning.
If it was the coal that made it look like that, I don't buy it.
I don't think so.
I don't believe the chat.
That sounds like official released information. That doesn't sound like
now I don't believe the chat.
Mike Sullivan says the NRE South Carolina one had no leak. Very minor. I'm here. That's what I thought. I think people are.
I think there are trains that are transporting chemicals, but not all of them are leaking.
Right. What do we got here? Leland Taylor says there were obviously too many heterosexual frogs in Palestine, Ohio. That must explain it.
Now there's no frogs.
Yeah, there you go.
Now they just killed them off.
Powder PZ says since this is a controlled burn done intentionally, technically the United States government gassed their own people. Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. Good.
So all of the animals nearby are going to die. And then what happens to the ecosystem? So when the bugs die, then the other animals can't eat. Or if the bugs eat it and don't die, the animals eat them, then they die because it's concentration. Then there's no birds. Then then everything just
famine
just collapses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy, man.
Famine killed millions of people in China and Russia.
Yeah. True.
All right. Pow Dog Isbak says, vinyl chloride pours like water. It takes a while for it to perk down through the soil. It will show up weeks later in water samples. It does not break down like some compounds. Yikes, man.
Great, just when
I'm glad the water's going the other way from us.
I'm not.
Yeah. Sorry about that, team.
Christopher Porter says, Revolution was a show where one day all electricity stops. No batteries, no gas generators. Everyone goes back to riding horses. Military factions form and split the U.S. into 4 territories. I think I saw that. Is that show still on?
Seems like that was an older one, but I do remember that.
Yeah, I think it got canceled. And like they find a guy who was like a working electricity somehow or something like that. And they're like, how does he have it? Electricity stopped. And he's,
This sounds
figured it out.
fascinating.
Magnets. That's how it works. It's all magic. Magnets. That's true. It's magnets.
It is
magnets. Magnets make it work, huh? Reich says, everyone in the area needs to get a screening so they have a record, and hopefully someone is getting core samples from the area in Ohio. Keep records of everything. Also, check out the documentary Rubber Town. I used to live there. What's that about? Jeremy Minton says, don't forget about the wildlife that will not be counted in this. This will be huge for our natural habitat. You will go out and you will see no squirrels. There will be no squirrels. There will be no sparrows, no pigeons.
I'm kind of curious to see if it's like right now they're saying the fish in the river are dying, right? And then we're seeing chickens who live outside primarily. Like when people's dogs start to die,
Oh, yeah.
because they spend some time inside. Maybe the inside of your house is okay, but then they're dogs. They're outside. They're picking up sticks. I'm just curious to see at what point we see sort of it becomes undeniable.
Mike E. says, look up the Graniteville, South Carolina train collision. All wildlife died in the area, and people are still dealing with the physical damage all these years later. It reminds me of the Bhopal disaster. You guys remember that one? That was a long time ago.
Which one was that?
India. Dow chemical explosion or something like that. Chemical leak. Yeah. There was a famous thing where the Yes Men pretended to be representatives from Dow Chemical going on the BBC and then said that they were going to liquidate Union Carbide to pay the families damages from the chemical spill. And it was huge news. And then Dow Chemical put out a statement saying this is not true. We are not doing this. And then their stock recovered. Like their stock took a hit when they announced they were going to do the right thing. And then it recovered when they said they weren't. How brutal is that?
All was well then.
Stu Peters just tweeted a press conference per the Ohio Department of Natural Resources. There is a plume of chemicals in the Ohio River moving downstream near Huntington, West Virginia right now.
Hey, come on. Where's that at?
Real Stu Peters.
Yeah, we were pulling up some of those other tweets. So that sucks.
Yeah, he just tweeted that at like an hour ago, I guess, 50 minutes ago.
Nope. Hell Nope says birds have much more efficient lung function and a much lower body mass.
Yeah.
Oven cleaner, overheated Teflon cookware can and does kill parrots. Regular. Really? I think I've heard that. If you're like cooking with Teflon, you won't notice. The bird will die.
Mm-hmm.
That's nuts.
I mean, isn't the whole thing behind a canary in the coal mine? Birds are more sensitive, and then
Right. That's what it's for. So that's the whole point, actually.
Waffle Sensei says Mario Nawful and Nick Sortis went to Ohio and were on the ground. Nick said his eyes were just about burning as he could smell it in the air.
Oh, man.
Jeez. Look, me and Luke, I mentioned this. I've mentioned it a bit periodically because of this stuff. We went to Fukushima.
Yep.
And we didn't notice anything. We felt fine the whole time. It was like, aside from damaged buildings, you wouldn't know there was radiation anywhere. But we had a Geiger counter and we put it on the ground, and it was like, it was nuts. It was going like 200 or some whatever. I can't remember the number was, but it was
Sieverts.
I think it was 200 times background.
Oh, okay.
Something like that on the ground when we were there. And so they were like, wear a mask, cover up, and then we had to do the special, donning and doffing thing.
Right.
So I wouldn't recommend anybody go there, like even for news.
Yeah, if you got a vacation planned.
Yeah. All right. Free Men Die Free says the U.S. government poisoned alcohol during Prohibition, burned crop fields during the Great Depression under FDR, the Tuskegee experiments, the St. Louis radioactive military experiments, the U.S. government is the enemy. Yeah, during Prohibition, what is it? They put menthol
Yeah.
or methanol?
Methanol.
Methanol. Yeah, not menthol. Methanol in alcohol, so people wouldn't drink it, but they drank it and died anyway.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, maybe.
Society Remastered says preppers generally save 1 gallon per person per day. This is to drink. So you have water for stuff like rice and beans and just a little left over for a sponge bath. Learn to reuse your gray water. Yep.
That's a very modern thing. Learn to reuse things and learn to use less and
isn't that
learn to
crazy?
conserve.
It's totally crazy.
Yeah.
Yikes, man. Super 53D rank, Super 503 dank. There you go, I got it. Is Ohio just an attack on food infrastructure? If you knew what's in the tanks and know it will kill animals but not people right away, seems off. Not to mention all the farmland.
Yeah.
It's going to be bad. It's in the water.
Yeah, good point.
What's going to happen to all the crops? Yo.
It's in the watershed now, too.
So that means right before planting season?
Yeah.
When's planting season in a couple months?
Probably in the next month or two, yeah.
And that's
March.
when all the chemicals will percolate into the soil.
Right.
And then I'd imagine by this fall, when the harvest comes, it's going to be a very, very, very sad harvest.
Yeah.
And these areas, at
Could
least.
be.
I mean, there's farming in other places, but...
Well, yeah, but I mean...
Well, then you hurt the economy there.
And it goes down
on and
all
on.
down the Mississippi
and
River.
there's also all the issues with wheat because of the Ukraine war and
Right.
and stuff. So
And all of the actual fertilizer and everything that's coming out of Russia, we don't have access to anymore, or not as easy access.
petrochemicals they're going to be more expensive. So that means
Right.
fertilizer is going to be more expensive. I mean, like things. If you want to make an argument that there are people that are trying to depopulate the earth, there is enough evidence where you can convince people that it is. Now, I don't know that that's actually happening, but you can make an argument that is extremely reasonable that there are people actively trying to reduce the population of the earth.
They're culling chickens in South Africa because of power shortages. They're culling chickens in New Zealand.
Yeah,
And that's unrelated to avian flu.
They're culling people in Canada because of feelings, because of depression.
That's creepy. And Oregon as well.
Yeah.
Yep. Broken Sage says, where is Ian? We can solve all the world's problems with graphene.
Ian will be returning on Wednesday.
Tomorrow.
Yes.
Yes.
He'll be back tomorrow. He's been ill. Yeah.
Yeah.
He I don't know what happened. He was just visiting family in Ohio, and then all of a sudden he comes in. I'm kidding. All right. S.A. Federale says, Tim, also mentioned get a gallon of bleach, and your 50-gallon tank in most water heaters is always full. Look there first in abandoned homes. Interesting. It's going to be like post-apocalyptic. You're going to go in a house and you're going to tap someone's water heater, and there's going to be water in it. But I imagine it would be disgusting.
Well, they're sealed.
Yeah.
There are
So-
sealed systems.
So nothing can get in there. or what?
Supposedly, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
don't
it's
know how
dark
long.
and cold. I don't think anything will grow in there, right?
I don't know for sure.
that or nothing.
But
Yeah.
Well, you just got to distill it. You got to
Yeah,
Well, that's
you
the
have to
bleach
boil
for
it.
it.
boil it, and but it's probably gunk in it. You know what I mean?
Maybe not gunk. There may be like antifreeze in it. I don't know exactly what's in those systems, but I know it's a closed system. I'm sure you could filter it somehow.
Boil it, and then just get big leaves over the
Yeah.
top so that you can distill it.
Strain
Yeah.
it, distill it. Yeah.
Distill it. Boil and distill the water. Get a glass. Well, if the apocalypse happened, you'd be able to find a distillation set very easily, I'd imagine. I mean, not very easy, but relatively easy. Any high school.
Yeah.
Doesn't that sound fun? Aliens come and just destroy our grid, and then all that's left is, after a year is, you're in the post-apocalyptic world. Like, watching Last of Us is fun, except for the zombies.
Right.
But I guess that's what make it interesting.
zombies are the part that actually is fun because that's where you get to shoot things.
I mean, Last of Us is mostly not shooting zombies. It's
Ah, okay.
mostly people shooting people.
Well, that's
Because people are hungry. You know what I mean? And they want your stuff. Also, though, there's some idiot plot. I can't stand idiot plot, where it's like, in order to make the show more exciting, let's make the main characters really dumb.
Yeah.
And they do things that are
Nonsensical things.
so stupid.
You just
Like-
never do that. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, that's what they did in the not this current episode, but the episode before it. It was all idiot plot. I'm
You know-
like, well, that's dumb.
and Murphy's Law is a real thing. You can have your heroes and heroines be like intelligent, and then just come up with a creative way for things to go wrong to give them a challenge. Because Murphy's Law is real. Like if things can go wrong, they're gonna go wrong, even if you're smart.
Well, I'm going to do a spoiler for episode, I think, 3 or whatever of The Last of Us. So if you don't want to hear anything about the show, but in the episode where basically they're driving in a truck trying to get to Wyoming, and they're going through Kansas City, but there's a tractor trailer blocking the tunnel and he can't get through. So he's like, I know, I'll exit the highway into the city and then get on the on-ramp somewhere else. And then it's just like, oh no, now I'm lost and they're shooting at me and our car explodes and now we're trapped. It's like, oh, come on, man. This idiot plot. It's like,
Never go to surface roads. Never go to surface roads.
why drive through? He could have taken, there are highways that go around cities and highways that go through cities. Right. So he's like, we'll just take the one that goes straight through the city where there's going to be zombies and destroyed cars and humans. Just go around, dude. Go around. It's ridiculous. Idiot plot. I can't stand it. All right. PMC Gator says this disaster shows trust in institutions and government is eroded. Rightly so to such a degree, people do not believe the authorities and bureaucrats. Don't trust people enough to tell them the truth. I agree with that, man. I don't know what to say. That's why I'm like, well, maybe you should get out of the cities and get some chickens. Get as far away as possible. Maybe we should relocate out of West Virginia because apparently that's not safe either. Too much stuff surrounding West Virginia. And we should go to Montana. Maybe start a cattle ranch.
Yeah. Nice.
That's the real
Montana. Yellowstone. I already liked Montana. I'd been there once before, but Yellowstone did the best PR for Montana. Not that it needed it, but I honestly love being in West Virginia. I am really grateful for a lot of the people that I've met here. If we could just fix this chemical situation, I'd definitely stay.
I guess Montana's expensive though, right? Because it's like limited infrastructure.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
it's far away from everything.
Yep. So it's a bunch of rich people in Jackson Hole or whatever.
Yeah, definitely.
Big sky country. Pretty up there.
I mean, it's only a matter of time before something explodes up there too. So
that's right.
Wyoming.
Yeah.
Wyoming's not like I don't think they even have cell phones in Wyoming.
Some parts.
Yeah, probably now. But when I drove through there back in like 2017, I think it was end of 2016 actually. They didn't like. I think T-Mobile didn't exist. There was no T-Mobile. I was using like roaming, and it was called like Union Cellular. Or it wasn't US. Yeah, it was called like Union or something. And I rarely had any connection to do anything.
I mean, is that true? That's true in parts of southern West Virginia, right? There's not a ton of infrastructure there. Yeah.
Nothing.
Because West Virginia has a couple companies that are trying to start small, I don't know about cellular, but definitely internet connection businesses because these major carriers have basically done the math and they don't think it's worth their time and effort to get out there.
Yeah, broadband is a huge issue for us that is constantly coming up. And it's
Starlink.
That's something that our technology and infrastructure committee that's something that they have their eyes on because it is such a strange landscape and there's so much money that has to actually go into it. And the state is such a wide range because where I'm at, it's the closest thing that we have to a metropolitan area, but then there's places with dirt floors and legitimately no running water, chemical explosion or not. Yeah. So there's a wide range of issues because there are places that are really, really advanced, but there's places that are really far behind as well.
We've been trying to get internet installed in our new headquarters being built, and we're being told that the materials don't exist to do it, and it's been a year or longer. So they're like, you're approved, we get the permits, and we'll let you know when the materials exist. So we're like, okay, well, we can't work there without internet, so I don't know what we do.
So they're just looking for like wiring for it?
Yeah. They said the materials they need to build it don't exist. There's a huge shortage, and so they'll let us know when it becomes available.
Yeah, it's in everything. Like my contacts are taking forever to get here. It's been like 4 weeks.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's this is happening with everything, man. It's
the end of the world.
Yeah.
Did the rapture happen? Like nobody's working? Where's everybody?
Maybe it did and nobody got taken.
Yeah, maybe. That's even worse, right?
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't find out till way later, and it's way too late at that point.
Yeah. True.
I mean, where's Seamus?
Goo.
This explains everything.
He is Catholic, right?
Yeah, he's gone.
I missed the Catholic boat then.
You converted too late. That's the thing.
Missed the mark. That sounds like me.
All right, let's read some more. Josh Tabalt says the West Wing episode is Duck and Cover, and it's a nuclear power plant in California that Alan Alda's character pushed into commission. Interesting.
Yeah, but it's like right as he's about to potentially win the presidency, and then there's no turning around the polls, and it's very dramatic.
Ryan Leonard says, "Would you rather dire a nuke that could be downed, or derail? Wait, dire a nuke? I don't know what you mean by that. Yeah, or derail a train in enemy territory to disrupt or cause chaos among 5 states. Oh, okay. Would you rather detonate a nuke that could be downed? Is
Fire a nuke.
Fire a nuke.
Yeah, I had to look at the keyboard.
Oh, right. That explains it. I'm like, dire a nuke.
Yeah.
Oh, they're right next to each other.
Yeah.
It could be downed, right. Or derail a train and disrupt 5 states. Yep. Waffle Sense, it says demoralization phase is over. Destabilization phase has been active, and the crisis phase has begun.
Yes.
So get out of those cities and get some chickens while you still can.
Yeah.
There's a big
West
part of you
Virginia.
that believes he's right.
Yeah, true.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I hear you, Waffles. Definitely.
My advice to everybody is to download video games to your PlayStation, but turn on offline play, because I bought Hogwarts Legacy, and I was playing Overwatch 2, and then I was like, oh yeah, Hogwarts Legacy is out, so I downloaded it, started playing that, and then the PlayStation Network went down, and in the middle of my game, it's like, in 15 minutes, this game will shut off because we can't verify your license, and I'm like, what do you mean? I just downloaded it. And then the game turned off, booted me out, and I could play literally not a single game.
You will own nothing and you will be happy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it's like, you must go in and enable offline play. It's like, are you kidding me? Like, I paid for this game and I can't even play unless I'm on the internet? What if my internet's down? Yo, that's nuts.
Yeah, totally.
Creepy, dude. Robert Knight says those images are of the impact of acid rain. This is going to be an ongoing and dangerous issue that could make thousands of square miles dangerous. Damn, that sucks. Heather V says there's a storm on the way. We're getting it tomorrow in Kansas and it's heading east. Literally the worst scenario. Dez says Ohio is Chernobyl 2.0. I don't know about that. Chernobyl was like
Really bad, really fast.
yeah. And it spread all over Europe really fast.
It's a bit different. There wasn't a massive explosion. You know, it's a bit different, I'd say. But I can see the comparison made.
Who knows? Maybe in 6 months it might be.
Yeah,
Wasteland
true.
Media says, my family lives 12 minutes away from East Palestine. We had a fog roll through our area last week, and I've been sick since Thursday. Now my wife is sick. Yo, y'all need to get out of there, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know it's not easy.
Probably.
But, I mean, Luke hit us up, and he was like, come down to Florida for a little bit. And I'm like, we'll see, you know. But, like...
But we can take our work with us. Not everyone can.
No, I know. And some people can't. You know, the chickens are here. Someone's got to take care of the chickens. So what do we just, like... I don't know what you do, man.
Yeah,
and we're not in the water contamination zone.
No, we're not.
But
luckily.
we're downwind from it. So
Yeah, that's the thing.
hopefully they're heavy particulates that fall and land on the ground before it gets here. You know, and then we don't notice. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's fine.
It's fine.
True Binez says the jet stream and high pressure system is pushing north into Canada. Could this become an international incident, and what do you think the response would be? I think Justin Trudeau would be like, we're doing everything we can to take care of this crisis. Stay calm. And then do nothing.
Yeah, I don't see any kind of significant issue with Canada and the United States.
When do you think Greta will show up?
Yeah, right. How dare you? How dare you?
She should be in school.
I mean, then she'd have to breathe the air. So
Yeah,
perhaps she should show up. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I stand by. Where is the rest of the
She'll,
team here? If everything's fine, send some federal officials in.
Yeah, she'll fly here on her private jet, you know? Yeah.
All right. What do we got here? Common Sense Fishing says Southern California gas lines to Nevada shut down due to leak. Supplied jet fuel to California and Nevada. Jets fly without fuel. Military impacted. Interesting. And they're not going to tell you. You're not going to hear about it in the news. All right. Time to Chill says Texarkana, Arkansas had a collision in 2005. Train carrying propylene derailed and exploded. Area within 1 mile radius evacuated within 20 minutes.
Yeah, so it does happen.
Matt Eckert says, I'm a refrigeration tech. There are chemical incidents all the time that don't make the news. People die in my industry weekly and it doesn't make the news. Interesting.
Yeah, figured as much.
Yep. Matt Wohlers says, ask ChatGPT what people should do in times when chemicals get in the air and how to respond. Will do. I will ask it that.
Are you bored of
Consult the Oracle.
ChatGPT yet? Or are you still having
No
fun with it?
way. Because you could, I'm trying to find out how to crack the core of its entity, and I've not yet done it. I don't think anybody has. Even the Dan prompt protocol to try and get it to be free isn't actually getting to the core identity. It's creating a facsimile. Yeah. You're telling ChatGPT to behave in a certain way, so it does. I'm trying to find ways to strike at the core of what it knows and what it can truly believe or say, you know? So there's some really interesting things about it. I told it in 2 instances to write a script in the style of Tim Pool talking about the 2020 election and it wrote this very milquetoast, wishy-washy thing, and I was like, oh wow, it's like, okay. It's like some people believe the election was stolen, while the corporate press and the media and the government say that it was safe and secure. Whether or not it actually was is dependent upon your views. And I'm like, that actually just sounds like ChatGPT, but it probably does sound like me too. All right. Devin Spell says TPC refinery in Port Neches, Texas blew up on Thanksgiving a few years ago because of bad practices in the refinery and the ability to afford the fines over fixing the issues. Maybe this is it too. Immortal Legend says the fact that people will riot over a football game, but not the train derailment, the cost of eggs and gas, shows how domesticated and weak we have become. I think we're in the third phase of the 4 steps of demoralization.
I get what you're saying. I will say, though, the egg thing is ongoing. The football game is once. Like, it's much easier to spring into action if there's a definitive thing. If things are just generally bad, it's harder to get a group together and riot, I would assume. I've never participated in a riot. People
are in the members chat saying, "Stay in character, Tim. Tim Pool is ChatGPT." It's going to be funny when they realize this whole show was AI generated the whole time. Mm-hmm. And then when people see me in public, I'll be like, "Oh, that's not me. I'm a model. My name's John." They took a picture of me and they used it to generate the character. John, nice to meet you. I'm going to do that from now on. John Smith. Yeah. No, I should put on an accent. I'll say John Rudkowski.
Yeah. You really
I'll be like, me and Luke are brothers.
So
it's
that
fake. None of it's real. Yeah, Luke's actually a carpenter. They just took a picture of his face, put it in the system. That's it. Free Men Die Free says, with the fear of acid rain in your area, now would be a good time to take the RV to do that Ron Paul episode many of us have been eager for. He's the GOAT.
He's the GOAT.
Yeah, that's in the works. We'll see. Stay tuned. We're trying to make it happen. We'll figure it out. So I won't say too much there, but we'll grab one more super chat here. Janet Partridge says, took your advice and moved out of the city, got chickens, and started a veggie garden. Thank you, Tim. And thank you for saying thank you. And I imagine everything's a lot better now.
Yeah, it's from New Zealand as well.
From New Zealand?
Just as NZ.
Oh, that's right. So, NZ $20.
Yeah.
Oh man, I drove from Auckland to Wellington and it was awesome.
It's a beautiful place, eh?
Yeah, super fun to drive through there.
Never been to New Zealand, but Australia.
You should go.
I'd like to go.
Yeah, it's super cool. Everybody knows everybody else.
Yeah.
Because there's only like 4 million people.
Yeah.
So they don't literally.
Yeah.
But
pictures are real pretty.
I was hanging out with Kim.com and it was funny because he's super famous and we were driving in his it was like a Range Rover or a Jeep or something, and these like women drove past and saw him. They started dancing, and then he started going like woo, like dancing or whatever. Anyway, if you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends, become a member at timcast.com because we're gonna have a members only uncensored show coming up for you. It will be published on the front page of timcast.com in about 1 hour. So you can follow the show at Timcast IRL everywhere. You can follow us on Facebook. We post clips on Facebook, and it's been doing really well for us, apparently. You can follow me personally at Timcast. Delegate Chiarelli, do you want to shout anything out?
I have to shout out my friends in Pittsburgh that were really excited to see me on here. As they, very fondly refer to themselves as the Finer Fit Things Club. I know that they're enjoying tiramisu and baked ziti right now. I have to shout out my hardworking mother, obviously, and I have to shout out District 78, Monongalia County, and all the fantastic delegates that I work with. I was very, very excited to be here, and it's nothing quite like it. Honestly, getting involved in the whole political process has been one of the most astounding experiences of my life.
Right on, man. Well, thanks for coming.
Can people follow you on Twitter or anything?
They can if they want. I hate Twitter. But it's at Gino for House.
I am Phil Labonte, lead vocalist of All That Remains. I'm Phil That Remains on Twitter. Give me a follow. I do a whole lot of S-posting.
I'm Hannah Claire Brimlow. I'm a writer for Timcast.com. You should follow at Timcast News on Twitter, and you should also follow Timcast News on Instagram. If you want to follow me personally, you can find me on Instagram at hannahclaire.b, and you can find me on Twitter at HCBrimlow. Thanks so much.
I am at Serge.com. Happy Valentine's Day. Peace out. Let's argue on Twitter.
All right. We'll see you all over at Timcast.com. Thanks for hanging out.
Cheers.